Chapter 3, Sharn, City of Towers. I've been here a week, and it's still hard not to feel overwhelmed by the city. The towers rise up until they disappear into the clouds. Lights gleam in 1,000 windows. Skycoaches work their way through the maze of bridges connecting the towers, and up above I can see the burning ring of an elemental airship. Distracted by the sights in the sky, I nearly walk into a warforged as it brushes past me. It's my first time seeing one, but then there are so many things I've never seen in this place. Over there, a tattooed elf haggles with a masked halfling, arguing about the price of lizard meat. Beyond them, a gargoyle watches from a high perch. I gather my senses and keep moving. It's not until I reach the lift that I realize the warforged stole my purse. A newcomer to the big city. All the major themes of Eberron are manifest in the great city of Sharn. It's a place of magic, with skycoaches circling mile-high towers and mystic forges toiling endlessly in the bowels. It's a place of adventure and intrigue. A fallen angel is gathering minions in the ruins below the city. A gang war is gaining strength in Khalistan. The corpse of a murdered aristocrat has just been discovered in a floating mansion. A Cannith artificer is experimenting with a planar gateway, and something is about to go terribly wrong. All of these adventures and 100 more are waiting in the City of Towers. This chapter details the city for players and DM alike. The DM can find additional information about the city in Chapter 4. The Shape of Sharn. Sharn is the largest city in Corvair, with a population of 500,000 people. Humans make up about a third of that number, and dwarves are a sixth of it. The rest is a blend of every race found across Corvair. Halflings, elves, and gnomes all have a significant presence in the city, but even Kalister and changelings have communities in Sharn. Beyond the permanent population, tens of thousands of people pass through Sharn every day. Refugees from the war still find their way to the city, along with tourists, spies, merchants, and folk hoping to find their fortune in the grandest city in Eberron. Sharn stands above the Dagger River and its eastern tributary, the Hilt. It's an important port for anyone dealing with Arenal, Zendrick, or Sarlona. Mountains line the shores of the Dagger, and Sharn can't spread out, so instead it has grown ever upward. The city is primarily made up of these quarters: Central Plateau, Dura, Menthis Plateau, Northedge, Tavick's Landing. At the hub of each of these quarters is a cluster of enormous core towers. A web of bridges and platforms connects many of these vast spires, and smaller turrets sprout from the edges of the core towers. The district of Skyway floats above the highest towers, while the tunnels of the cogs stretch out below the lower city. In between those extremes, each of the quarters is divided into an upper ward, a middle ward, and a lower ward. Each ward is made up of a number of districts, so that the location of a place in Sharn can be expressed with a combination of a ward name and a district name. More information about each of the wards and the districts in them appears later in this chapter. Aftermath of war. Far from the front lines, Sharn never fell under siege during the last war. Regardless, the war's impacts affected the city's citizens and continue to even today. Physical damage. Although Sharn was never subjected to a sustained assault, it didn't avoid damage. On many occasions, commandos and saboteurs launched significant attacks inside Sharn. The most infamous of these was the Ondarian attack that brought down the floating glass tower, devastating the district now known as Fallen. In any of the lower or middle wards, you might encounter evidence of the conflict in the form of a shattered bridge, a building collapsed by an arcane explosion, or an area some say is haunted because of the large number of people killed there during the war. Psychological scars. There are places in the city that house people who suffered because of the actions of other nations. For example, many of the residents of Dura hold all Ondarians responsible for the destruction of Fallen. In another district, folk could hate the Kens for an undead attack that occurred during the war, and a different group could blame Thrain for the siege of Vathern. These kinds of sentiments can shape the feelings of an entire district. But in the city as a whole, there are far more people who have personal burdens to carry than those who feel resentment toward particular nations. For instance, on an individual level, most members of the Sharn Watch might not care about a gnoll being seen in a neighborhood, but a guard who fought on the Drome front during the war might be out for revenge. Warforged are sometimes also the targets of this sort of prejudice. A person whose friends were killed by Warforged soldiers might resent all such creatures. Shortages, because the ink is barely dry on the Treaty of Thronehold and relationships between the signatories are still being normalized. Sharn doesn't currently benefit from a lot of commerce with other nations. Problems could arise from a short supply of any imported goods, whether this manifests as inflated prices, the need for rationing, or certain items being simply unavailable. The factors of supply and demand also play into smuggling and the black market. Some desirable goods might be available only through the Boromir clan. Refugees and victims. Syrran refugees have filled the district of high walls in Lower Tavick's landing beyond capacity, and Sharn is also home to a significant number of refugees from elsewhere in Breland, people whose homes and villages were destroyed during the war and who have come to Sharn in search of new lives. The city also has its share of other people harmed during the war, soldiers and civilians with severe physical or psychological injuries. All these folk are most likely to be found in the lower wards. They aren't just poor, they're suffering, and they might seek vengeance against those they blame for their pain. Guide to the city. When you live on the inside low, you never see the sun. People hear towers, they think of graceful little spires, the sort of thing you see poking up in the corner of your lord's keep. We've got those, and lots of them. But the foundation of the city is the core towers. The walls of these towers are so thick you could fit your lord's castle in one. You've got your outside districts where you get the open air, built on the bridges and platforms that connect the core towers together. You've got the little turrets, built on the core tower walls and the bridges between. You've got the folk in the middle, who live and work in the walls themselves. And then you've got those of us on the inside, our districts entirely contained in the hollow well of a great tower. When you look up in Khalistan, you see twinkling lights, to be sure. But those aren't stars, and that isn't the sky. You're looking up through a mile of bridges and platforms, crossing the well, looking up at the districts above you. You live up high, you can touch the sky. In the middle, you can still see the sun. Down on the inside low, all we have is gloom and the constant drip, water and worse descending from the city above us. A street urchin describing Sharn. Sharn is the most cosmopolitan city on the continent. Describing all the activities and offerings in the city could fill an entire book. Here's a summary of what you need to know to appreciate the city to the fullest. Watch your step. As befits the city of towers, Sharn is also a city of bridges and balconies. These thoroughfares and outcroppings can be extremely narrow or comfortably wide. Although most of them are bounded by walls or railings, there's always a chance that during your time in Sharn, you or someone you know will go over the edge. So, how do residents cope with this risk? Those who can afford it usually carry a feather token as insurance. No token? Don't panic. Because of the maze of bridges and spans connecting the towers, there's an excellent chance that you won't fall more than 100 feet before impacting on a lower bridge. Though this alone might seem like small comfort, it's also true that the major bridges in the upper and middle wards are enchanted with feather fall effects that trigger automatically, keeping you from crushing an innocent passerby in your descent. Many different outcomes could follow a lengthy fall. The falling in Sharn table presents a few possibilities. Sample: the Sharn Inquisitive. Watch for falling drunks. Just this week, a Brellish woman in Middle Central was squashed to death when a drunk Syrran man fell on her from the upper wards. He survived. A good Brellish woman, a veteran of the last war, cushioned his fall. This incident isn't the first of its kind. Last month, a clumsy warforged crushed two innocent halfling lovers. Before that, a shifter thief fell from a tower, injuring an unsuspecting griffin. I propose a new law: no traveling the middle or upper wards without a feather token. These affordable trinkets are all that stand between our safety and death caused by some rat who would rather spend gold on drink. Falling in Sharn table. Roll a d8 for a result. 1. You fall hundreds of feet before striking the ground at the base of the towers. 2. You fall 3d6 x 10 feet before striking a bridge. A major bridge in an upper or a middle ward will have a feather fall enchantment. Otherwise, it's going to be a hard landing. 3. You fall 2d4 x 10 feet and land in a passing skycoach, possibly injuring a passenger. 4. You fall 4d4 x 5 feet and strike an outcropping, flagpole, or projecting statue. If you survive, you're still precariously perched on the edge of a tower or bridge. 5. You fall past a hippogriff. Make a successful DC 15 dexterity, acrobatics, check to catch its leg. 6. A gargoyle or giant owl catches you, then threatens to drop you if it doesn't get a reward. 7. You can fly. Actually, a nearby wizard or artificer casts feather fall to save you, but for a moment it felt like you can fly, and now the spellcaster wants payment. 8. You strike a small air elemental that was drawn to the city. Doing this cushions your fall, but now you're on top of an air elemental. Communication services. Need to get a message to someone? If you're not in a hurry, the Orient Post has boxes throughout the city. You can mail a letter for 1 CP. Hiring a courier generally costs between 5 CP and 5 GP, depending on the size of the package and where you need it delivered. You can find Civis message stations in almost every upper and middle ward, and if you absolutely have to contact someone instantly, the Civis Enclave in the Dragon Towers District, Middle Central, can perform a sending spell for 200 GP. House Therashk has brought an innovation to message delivery in Sharn: the use of gargoyles. Therashk has several of these creatures in its employ, and these flying couriers are a quick way to get a message across the city. If you spot a gargoyle without a burden, you can flag it down, and it costs 5 GP to deliver a letter or a small package. Spellcasting services. Magerates and adepts can be found in every district of Sharn, selling their services. Standard prices are summarized on the Magerate casting fees table. Magerate casting fees. First level spells cost 25 GP. Second level spells cost 50 GP. Third level spells cost 100 GP. These costs can vary depending on the spell and the spellcaster, and they don't include the price of expensive components. People who can cast higher level spells are rare, typically found only in the Dragonmart houses or the wizard circles. The cost and availability of such services varies based on the caster, lifestyle, and standards of living. In Sharn, as in any large community, different segments of the population occupy different places in the economic spectrum. The terms that D&D uses to quantify lifestyle expenses: wretched, squalid, poor, modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic, see expenses in Chapter 5 of the Player's Handbook, are also used in this chapter as an indicator of what it costs for someone to live in a given area, and also of the costs of goods and services there. For instance, a restaurant that is said to serve food of comfortable quality is one where a patron who lives a comfortable lifestyle, or better, can afford anything on the menu. Education and research. Morgrave University, though not the most respectable institution of higher learning in Corvair, has an extensive library that boasts definitive collections of lore in certain fields, particularly arcana, dungeoneering, geography, and history. Characters seeking knowledge in any of these fields or others ought to be able to find resources in a library to aid their search. The university is an excellent source of sages who hire their services out on a short or long-term basis. Even those who profess to be sages but have no connection to the university tend to cluster around Morgrave, with their homes and businesses almost all located in the university, Denia's, and Ivy Towers districts of Upper Menthis. Another important site for certain kinds of research is the City Archive in the highest towers district of Upper Central. The archive contains exhaustive historical documents of Sharn, birth, death, and marriage records, and copies of legal documents such as identification papers and letters of marque issued in the city. Access to these records, however, is more restricted than to the contents of the Morgrave Library. Those who want to further their research through some hands-on experience might find undiscovered lore in the lowest regions of Sharn, where sewers and tunnels snake through ancient ruins. Similarly, the crypts of the City of the Dead might hold some relevant historical information. Shopping centers. Sharn contains a number of major shopping districts. The Trade Fair district in Middle Central focuses on top-quality goods, everything you'll need to maintain a wealthy or aristocratic lifestyle. North Market in Lower Northedge has a fine selection of common goods. Almost anything can be found in the Bazaar of Middle Dura, as long as you're not concerned about the origin of second-hand goods. Tavick's Market in Middle Tavick's Landing is a center for produce and other goods brought in from the farms and artisan workshops outside Sharn. Healing House Jarasco operates houses of healing throughout the city, largely in the middle and upper wards. The Panaceum in Dragon Towers, Middle Central, is the primary Jarasco enclave. The house's services use the prices in this book's introduction. The Panaceum has an altar that can be used to perform raise dead, but this service isn't without its risks. Sometimes the wrong spirit returns to a body, or malevolent ghosts or wraiths might escape from the netherworld along with the person being raised. Before the healers take gold to perform a resurrection, a Jarasco adept will first cast augury. If this divination indicates looming disaster, the adept will reject the request. A few divine spellcasters in Sharn can raise the dead, notably the High Priest of the Undying Court in Shilayas. These devout clerics rarely sell their services, however, and the High Priest would need a compelling reason to help someone who has different beliefs. Holidays, there's always a celebration happening or about to happen in Sharn, whether it's a parade in a single district or a festival that ranges across the entire city. Here are a few special occasions to put on your calendar. The Tain Gala, first Farv each month. The Urtains are the richest and most powerful family in Sharn. Each month, Lady Celeria Urtain holds a ball at her Skyway mansion. The guest list defines the current social order of the city. Those families who hold permanent invitations, known as the 60, are the de facto royalty of Sharn. Celeria does invite unusual guests and attractions each month, and an up-and-coming entertainer or a renowned folk hero might catch her notice. Crystalfall 9 Olarun. During the last war, saboteurs caused a floating tower to fall into Lower Dura. This devastation can still be seen today in the district now known as Fallen. On 9 Olarun, people gather to remember those who were lost that day. Many of them carry on a tradition of crafting elaborate ice sculptures and throwing them into the Dagger River. The day of mourning, 20 Olarun. The nation of Sire was destroyed in 994 YK on this date, known as the Day of Mourning. Although that event had an impact on everyone in Corvair, this day of remembrance is especially significant to Siren survivors. It is a time when Sirens come together to recall their lost kingdom. Some tell stories or sing traditional songs, ensuring that their culture isn't forgotten. Other survivors still seethe with anger at the enemies who brought Sire down, and thus far the holiday has been marked by a brief upturn in violence. Sun's Blessing, 15 Nerder. The Festival of Dal Ara is a day of peace and a time when enemies are urged to find a peaceful resolution to their conflicts. It's one of the safest days in the city for visitors and residents alike. Orion's Crown, 26 Dravago. Elders share their knowledge with the young during this celebration. Morgrave University holds its graduate services on this day, and a day-long schedule of public lectures is presented at the Great Hall of Orion in Upper Menthis. Brightblade, 12 Nim. The Festival of Daldorn is noted across the city with prize fights, wrestling matches, archery contests, and other tests of strength and skill. This activity culminates with a grand contest of champions in the Cornerstone District in Middle Tavick's Landing. The Race of 8 wins 23 Larvian. This event is an aerial race that takes place around Dura Quarter. The Hunt, 4 Barakas. In honor of the sovereign Balinor, a fierce beast is brought to the city and released on this day into an isolated section of Old Sharn. Anyone can participate in the hunt by making a donation of 5 GP. The hunter or group who brings down the beast wins a purse of 500 GP and the blessing of Balinor. The motif of the hunt can vary. In some years, multiple beasts are released, and the hunter who catches the most of them is the victor. In any case, it often turns out that the other competitors are a greater threat to hunters than the beasts they stalk. Fathon's Fall, 25 Barakas. This celebration commemorates a priest of the Silver Flame who was martyred while exposing lycanthropes in Sharn. The day's activities often cause tension with the shifter community. Boldrace Feast, 9 Ron. Gatherings across the city mark this celebration of community. The wealthy compete to throw the grandest parties, and the most generous among them will be remembered throughout the year for their largesse. The Ascension, 1 Cypheros. The sacrifice of Tira Myrn, who gave her life to serve as the voice of the Silver Flame, is honored on this day. The holiday is marked by services at all Silver Flame churches and shrines, and the faithful are encouraged to find some way to help their communities. Wild Night, 18-19 Cypheros. Supposedly the Fury, the god of passion and revenge, reaches the height of her power on this night. Emotions run high and impulse control runs low. Shy and superstitious folks stay indoors, while others see it as a time to cast aside inhibitions. The streets fill with revelry that lasts well into the night. Thronehold, 11 Arith. This observance marks the day that the Treaty of Thronehold was signed, officially ending the last war. This year, 998 Ik, is only the second time the event has been commemorated, and the Lord Mayor of Sharn has promised a truly epic festival. The Ascension, 1 Cypheros. The sacrifice of Tira Myrn, who gave her life to serve as the voice of the Silver Flame, is honored on this day. The holiday is marked by services at all Silver Flame churches and shrines, and the faithful are encouraged to find some way to help their communities. Wild Night, 18-19 Cypheros. Supposedly the Fury, the god of passion and revenge, reaches the height of her power on this night. Emotions run high, and impulse control runs low. Shy and superstitious folks stay indoors, while others see it as a time to cast aside inhibitions. The streets fill with revelry that lasts well into the night. Thronehold, 11 Arith. This observance marks the day that the Treaty of Thronehold was signed, officially ending the last war. This year, 998 Ik, is only the second time the event has been commemorated, and the Lord Mayor of Sharn has promised a truly epic festival. Long Shadows, 26-28 Volt. It's said that the power of the Shadow, the sinister deity of the Dark Six, is at its height during these 3 nights. Careful people spend this time indoors with friends, but those who relish the darkness might decide to take to the streets to prey on the weak and foolish. Sports and games. As befits a metropolis that boasts people of all cultures, Sharn hosts a wide variety of sports and athletic events. The Race of 8 Winds occurs once a year. Other events take place on a daily, weekly, or monthly schedule. For instance, shifters hold informal Atrajek competitions every night in Lower Northedge. The ogres of the cogs are fond of tugs of war, arm wrestling, and similarly simple tests of strength. People who want to bet on sports can usually find a gambler willing to set odds in the Firelight District in Lower Menthis, Calistan in Lower Dura, Cornerstone in Middle Tavick's Landing, or Harth's Folly in Middle Dura. 3 exotic sports practiced in the city are described below. Atrajak. 2 teams of 7 shifters play Atrajak on a field with a goal at each end. Each team starts out carrying a wooden idol. To score, a team must steal its opponent's idol and place both idols in its own goal. Obstacles such as trees, streams, and piles of rubble can be present on an Atrajak field, requiring the competitors to make full use of their jumping and climbing abilities. Idols can be thrown or carried, and there are no limits on contact between participants, although only natural weapons are allowed. Typically, a low-level druid or adept is on hand to provide healing if needed, but any competitor who receives aid is removed from play for the remainder of the match. Competitors aren't allowed to use spells or similar abilities. The only formal Atrajak arena in Sharn is located in the Stone Trees, part of the Cornerstone District, where the matches serve as both a spectator sport and a reason for gambling. Shifters created temporary Atrajak fields in the slums and warehouse districts of the city from time to time, and shifter youths often play impromptu games in the parks. Skyblades, common jousting, is popular enough throughout Breland, but in Sharn, the sport has taken to the air. In a formal Skyblades match, the goal is to knock an opposing rider from the saddle. Attacks against mounts are forbidden, along with the use of magic or other supernatural abilities. Formal matches take place in one of Sharn's 2 aerial arenas, in Cornerstone and Harth's Folly. Skyblades jousters typically ride hippogriffs and carry blunted lances that deal non-lethal damage. Informal matches, which don't always use the same rules, occur from time to time in Lower and Middle Dura, Tavick's Landing, and Menthis Plateau. An informal match might be played out across an entire district, with competitors weaving between towers and around bridges. The rules for an informal match are set before the start, establishing, among other things, whether magic can be used and mounts can be targeted. 6 stones. A Drome tradition brought to Sharn by immigrants, 6 stones is a game for 7 competitors, who each pay a base stake. The 7 are then sealed in a large chamber with a cockatrice. The match ends when 6 of the players have been turned to stone, at which point the survivor is awarded all the stakes, except for a share set aside for the organizers. A Medusa handler monitors the competition to ensure that rules are followed. Contestants carry no arms or armor, and no magic or supernatural abilities may be used. Additionally, no one is allowed to attack the cockatrice. The challenge lies in outlasting the other contestants and luring them or pushing them into the path of the cockatrice. The battleground might be barren or littered with rubble and cover. It might be lit, or it could be pitch black. 6 stones matches are staged by the criminal organization Dosk. See the Criminal Activities section later in this chapter. The sport is illegal, but the games go on because the matches are confined to Lower Dura and the cogs and well hidden from the eyes of the watch. A match usually occurs only once every few months. Sometimes participants voluntarily enter the competition, but most are debtors who have been offered a chance to pay off their loans by winning the match. Dosk takes bets on the outcome, and usually earns a tidy sum as its share of the proceeds. Sample, the Sharn Inquisitive. The race of 8 wins begins. Banners are flying across Dura today, and the streets are full of color. Walk through Oldkeep wearing brown and red, and you'll be invited to raise a glass to the griffin. If you're dressed in white and gold, the colors of the hippogriff, you'd best be prepared to defend yourself. If you're new to Sharn, you might think our city's gone mad. And in some ways it has, but it's a madness that reaches its peak every summer with the race of 8 winds. Long ago, King Galifar used Dura as a proving ground for aerial cavalry. What's more important, quickness or strength? Our modern race is a test of speed and skill through a course that weaves around and through the spires of Dura. There are 8 competitors, and each of these brave jockeys rides a different flying creature, except for the gargoyle Karalag, who relies on his own wings. Speed is important, but merely surviving the race can be a challenge. The spilling of blood isn't prohibited, but the only weapon a rider can carry is a light sporting crossbow. The steeds can use their talons and beaks, which is what makes the griffin such a fierce contender. Poison, magic, or anything else that would directly interfere with beast or rider is strictly forbidden, though over the years we've certainly seen imaginative attempts to stretch the rules. Dura is divided into 8 regions for the race, each of which is represented by a different creature. If you're going to spend time in Dura, it's best that you know your mounts. The beasts of Upper Dura are the fastest in the race and overall have the best record. The reigning champion is the Pegasus of Highwater, whose supporters wear white and silver. The hippogriff is tied to Overlook and Daggerwatch in Upper Dura, and its colors are white and gold. Detractors often say that the Sharn Watch favors the hippogriff and that House Vidalis helps the Pegasus, but the referees always insist that the race is fair. The beasts of Middle Dura are versatile. The eagle represents Broken Arch and Stormhold in Middle Dura, and its supporters wear brown and gold. The clever owl flies for Rattlestone and the Bazaar, and its colors are brown and gray. The hawk represents Tumbledown and Underlook in Middle Dura, and wearing its blend of tan and brown can usually get you a good price at an inn. The beasts of Lower Dura are more infamous than reliable. The griffin flies for Precarious and Oldkeep, and its colors are brown and red. It has never won the race, but there's gold to be made betting on which opponent it will bring down. The Glidewing represents Gate of Gold and the Stores, and its supporters wear green and gray. Many believe that the Boromir clan pays for the upkeep of the mount and its rider. Mallion's Gate used to be represented by the bat, but 12 years ago they exchanged that mascot for the gargoyle, whose colors are black and gray. The current gargoyle is a stone-faced fellow named Karalag, and his supporters are quite passionate about their winged champion. City government, Sharn has many people in positions of power: beadles, ministers, bailiffs, and all manner of minor functionaries and officials. But ultimate power rests in the hands of the city council. That body has 17 members, 1 for each ward in the city, plus representatives from Skyway and the Cogs. Each ward has its own process for selecting a councillor, and there are no legal restrictions on who can govern. If you build up a strong base of support in a ward, you could hold the position yourself. The members of the city council are quite diverse. Some are crooked, others are idealists, and one of them appears to be an owl. All of them are well known in their home wards, and any of them could have use for a team of adventurers. The Sharn Councilors table describes a few of the city leaders you might bump into in Upper Central or at the Tane Gala. If your character has the noble background, you might already know one of them. Sharn Councilors table. Roll a d12 for a councilor. 1 Sorek Sensos, human, represents Middle Central. An elder statesman and a brilliant orator, he is rumored to be involved in a web of bribery and graft. 2 Savakarasa, human, is the outspoken councilor from Lower Central. Since taking her seat, she has fought to improve conditions for the lower classes of Sharn, and she has made many enemies on the council and beyond. 3 Thuric Devandi, no, represents Upper Menthis. He is known to have ties to Zalargo and the Boromir clan, and reportedly loves intrigues and blackmail. 4 Savia Potellas, human, has her hand in the entertainment industry of Lower Menthis. She hopes to reduce the influence of organized crime in her district, but it's a dangerous game. 5 Mazathadian, elf, represents Upper Northedge. A venerable elf and owner of one of the finest restaurants in Sharn, she fights to maintain tradition, but definitely puts the needs of the wealthy ahead of the poor. 6 Shassatar, shifter, from Lower Northedge, represents the interests of the merchants and shifters of her ward. Sheet is a cunning diplomat and devoted to her constituents. 7 Bastan Erton, halfling, has represented Upper Tavick's landing for 30 years, and largely views his ward as a separate city within the city. He has a reputation for stirring up conflict and setting the other counselors against one another. 8 Kilk, changeling, represents the merchants of Lower Tavick's landing. Whispered rumors suggest that the changeling has ties to the mysterious tyrants. Some insist that Kilk is actually an identity shared by a group of changelings. 9 Atrute Owl is a giant owl who can assume human form. A former aerial racer, he's a clever negotiator who fights for the good of the Bazaar and Middle Dura, often opposing the Boromer clan and its allies. 10 Elira Boromer, halfling, is the counselor for Lower Dura, but it's common knowledge that her true allegiance is to her family and its criminal empire. The current ongoing conflict with Dosk has weakened her family and her position. 11 Evix or Marasha, human, represents Skyway. Lady Marasha owns the Celestial Vista restaurant, along with several other valuable businesses. She's an eloquent speaker who supports many radical positions, including abolishing the monarchy after the death of King Borinal and recognizing Sharn as an independent province. 12 Nolan Tornak, Thorf, the counselor for the cogs, is largely seen as a tool of the industrialists who own the foundries there. Members of his family were killed by Warforged during the last war, and Tornak harbors a bitter grudge against House Cannith and the Warforged. He has tried to have Warforged reclassified as property, and seeks to suppress Warforged activists in the cogs. Temples and shrines. Every major religion has outposts in Sharn. A number of sacred sites draw pilgrims to the city from across Breland and Corvair. Priests don't usually sell their services. Temples are places for worship and spiritual guidance. The sovereign host is the dominant religion of Breland, represented by shrines and small temples throughout the city. The pavilion of the host in Middle Central is the heart of the faith, and most priests of the host live in one of the pavilion's 9 towers. Pilgrims often come to visit one of 3 particular sites. The Cornath in Upper Central features Corvair's largest temple of Calcoran. The Great Hall of Orien in Upper Menthis draws scholars and worshippers alike. The Pool of Onatter's Tears in the Blackbones district of the Cogs is said to impart a blessing to any smith who bathes their hands in its waters. The Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame, Sharn's largest temple to the Silver Flame, is located in Upper Central. Archierofen Athana Moor is frequently accused of corruption and nepotism, but there are smaller places of worship around the city devoted to the true principles of the faith. The Hermit Guy watches over the city of the dead from Warden Tower. Coldflame Keep in Middle Northedge was once a mighty garrison. Its glory has faded, but Flamebearer Mazin Tana still strives to protect his community. The priestess Phala maintains a small shrine in the shadows of Fallen, doing what she can to help the wretched people of that forsaken district. Finally, the Shrine of Fathin the Mardat is a sacred site in North Market, often visited by Templars passing through the city. Even some lesser-known religions are represented in Sharn. The Greystone district in Middle Tavick's Landing is a haven for followers of the Blood of Vol. The Gates of Passage in Upper Northedge is a temple of the Undying Court. The Overlook district of Upper Dura holds the Shrine of Ilyana, dedicated to the Path of Light. Guilds and guilds and similar associations abound in Sharn. Their headquarters are places where people can find the company of fellow professionals, or perhaps enlist the assistance of an organization. All the guilds associated with the Dragonmarked houses are well represented in Sharn. Most have guild halls in the Dragon Towers district of Middle Central. Aside from those groups, the city features a number of less populous associations, such as those described below. Adventurers' guilds. Sharn is a magnet for those who seek adventure and opportunity. Forgotten treasures are hidden in the ruins below the towers, and expeditions leave for Zendrik every day. At any moment, dozens of sages, spies, and nobles around the city are searching for capable agents to help with their schemes and investigations. If you and your friends are searching for adventure, you've come to the right place, and you don't have to do it alone. Sharn is home to two organizations that provide adventurers with opportunities for work and camaraderie: the Clifftop Adventurers Guild and the Deathgate Guild. Membership benefits. Those who are accepted into either Adventurers Guild must pay dues of 12 GP each year. The primary benefit of belonging to a guild is access to work, since the guildmaster can connect parties of adventurers with patrons and jobs suited to their talents. Beyond that, there are a few additional benefits. You can store items at the guild hall free of charge. You can book lodging at the guild hall for 5 SP per night. The accommodations are modest, but the guild provides stronger security for lodgers and their possessions than you'd find at an inn. An adventurer's guild is an excellent source of information. By studying records and working with other guild members, you can gain advantage on any skill check to research a subject in which the guild has expertise or experience. A strong rivalry exists between the Deathgate Guild and the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. You might have trouble with members of the opposing guild, whether in the form of drunken boasting in a tavern or a rival stirring up trouble in the midst of a mission. The Clifftop Adventurers Guild. Located in the Clifftop district of Upper Dura, this organization has a sterling reputation as a source of reliable explorers and champions. Clifftop adventurers are known for their courage and integrity, and Guildmaster Summer Coroner holds members to a high standard of virtuous behavior. As a Clifftop adventurer, you're expected to keep your word, to stand by your comrades, to uphold the law, and never to intentionally endanger innocence with your actions. Many of the local businesses cater to adventurers, and if you're a member of the guild, you can expect a warm welcome in the taverns of Clifftop. The Deathgate Guild. Adventurers who are willing to take on any job and to do whatever it takes to triumph might find themselves suited for membership in the Deathgate Guild. Named for its proximity to the City of the Dead, the district of Deathgate prides itself on being a haven for those who challenge death on a daily basis. The guild's founder, Cash Blackaxe Doranath, doesn't care how his members do their jobs, as long as they don't fail. The Circle of Song. A bard is a versatile individual, equally skilled at entertainment and espionage. These talents are perfectly matched to the city of Sharn, which is both the cultural heart of Breland and a nexus for intrigue and diplomacy. Bards have much to gain from the company of other bards, as they exchange news, stories, and songs. For this purpose, long ago a group of the finest bards in Sharn founded the Circle of Song, an alliance of entertainers and adventurers. The Circle of Song is an informal organization, open to any bard who knows its customs and who can find an outpost. It has no membership dues. You're expected to make a donation if you make significant use of the group's resources. Membership provides the following benefits. You can always find food and lodging at a Circle outpost, though you might be expected to entertain the patrons in exchange. If times are tough, your food and lodging might be a step lower than the usual quality of the inn, but at least it's free. You have advantage on ability checks made to perform research or gather information while in a Circle outpost, provided you have an opportunity to peruse archives and talk with other members. Circle members are often willing to do minor favors for other members, gathering information, embarrassing a minor noble, causing a distraction. There's no cost for such a service, but anyone who helps you will expect you to provide similar assistance when they need it. The first and oldest outpost of the Circle of Song is the Golden Horn in the University District of Upper Menthis. A few bards are almost always in residence and willing to share news and stories. Other, less elaborate outposts are maintained in Sharn, and over the centuries the Circle has established outposts in most major cities and many smaller communities across Corvair. These sites are usually taverns or inns that have hidden areas accessible only to members of the circle. Bards are expected to set aside personal rivalries while in a circle outpost, and any kind of combat or violence is prohibited. Violating this rule results in immediate expulsion from the circle at the least. Arcane Orders. Its mighty towers and floating spires mark Sharn as a symbol of mystic power and achievement. Soon after the founding of the city, the greatest wizards of Breland chose it to be the seat of their arcane order. Its goal was to celebrate excellence in the mystic arts, bringing together the greatest practitioners of magic in a society that rivals Arcanex and the institutions of Onder. A schism split the original society, but today both of the branches of the original organization, the Esoteric Order of Orion and the Guild of Starlight and Shadows, are recognized and respected throughout Breland. Each one has lesser halls in every major city in the nation. Membership benefits. Someone accepted into an arcane order must pay 1,000 GP to join, with ongoing dues of 250 GP each year thereafter. With this payment comes many benefits, including the following. You can stay at the Order's hall in any major city and enjoy the amenities of a wealthy lifestyle free of charge. For as long as you have access to the Order's hall, the cost of crafting a magic item at the site is reduced by 10%. While in the hall, you have advantage on intelligence, arcana, checks, as well as any ability checks involving arcane research. Membership in an arcane order grants prestige within Breland. Though this status provides no tangible benefit, it proves that you are a gifted mage and stand above any mere magerate or dabbler. The Esoteric Order of Orion. Members of the larger of the two societies, the Esoteric Order of Orion, take a vow to use their talents to preserve and advance civilization and to operate within the confines of the law. The Esoteric Order helped Galifar maintain the rule of law, and many of its members served Breland during the last war. Although its members aren't prohibited from studying any form of magic, the specialties of the Order are abjuration, divination, and evocation magic. Wizards and artificers are almost always welcome in the guild. Sorcerers must prove their grasp of arcane theory to earn a place, and warlocks are rarely accepted as members. The Hall of the Esoteric Order of Orion is in the district of Clifftop in Upper Dura. The Guild of Starlight and Shadows. Breland's other arcane order encourages independence and innovation, qualities that contribute to a mutually uncomfortable relationship between the Guild of Starlight and Shadows and the Sharn Watch. The schools of conjuration, enchantment, and illusion are favored by this group. Warlocks, especially those of the Archfey, are generally welcome. Members of the Esoteric Order look down on Starlight wizards, and in turn the guild members often mock the wizards of the Esoteric Order and play pranks on them. The Guild of Starlight and Shadows has its hall in the Deathgate district in Middle Tavick's Landing. The Closed Circle. There is one dark stain in the shared history of the arcane orders. 300 years ago, a third order arose in Sharn, a sinister cabal called the Closed Circle. This order specialized in transmutation and necromancy, and dabbled in the forbidden lore of the Daelka and the dragon below. It's said that the members of the Closed Circle went mad and sought to summon terrible things. Whatever the truth, the guild was wiped out more than 200 years ago by the combined action of the Church of the Silver Flame, the Esoteric Order, and the Guild of Starlight and Shadows. Hidden workshops of the Closed Circle might still be found in Sharn, where vengeful liches or other wizards of the circle practice their dark arts in hiding. Wards of Sharn. Sharn is a vertical city, and elevation is an indicator of status and wealth. Each quarter is roughly divided into 3 levels, and the combination of quarter and level defines a ward. Thus, wards have names such as Lower Dura, Upper Central, and Middle Menthis. Upper wards are the domain of the rich and powerful. Here you'll find the finest goods and the most expensive services. Only those who maintain a wealthy or aristocratic lifestyle can easily afford the prices for meals and lodging, and adventurers who maintain a squalid or wretched lifestyle might be treated with disdain, suffering disadvantage on charisma checks. Violence is rare in any of the upper wards, and the Sharn Watch actively patrols these areas. Although the guards here might be corrupt just as in a middle or lower ward, they're already being well paid by powerful nobles and criminal organizations, and they work efficiently in the service of these forces. Middle wards are home to the middle classes. Here you'll find bustling markets and taverns, along with a wide range of entertainment and housing. Most goods and services are affordable by those of a modest or comfortable lifestyle, with a few higher-priced options tucked away. The Sharn Watch has a presence, but not as strong as in the upper wards. Lower wards house the hard-working laborers, along with the destitute and the desperate, including refugees who lost everything in the war and orphans who never had anything to begin with. Services priced for a modest lifestyle can be found, but overall the lower wards are home to those who have no better than a poor lifestyle. A visitor who displays signs of a wealthy or aristocratic lifestyle might attract unwanted attention. The watch pays little attention to the lower districts, making them a haven for criminals and gangs. These are stereotypes that don't apply to all wards. Dura is a particularly poor quarter, meaning that Upper Dura is effectively a middle ward in economic terms. Similarly, because Central Plateau is a hub of wealth and power, Lower Central is effectively a middle ward. Each ward is further subdivided into districts, which are neighborhoods defined by an economic role, a separate culture, or both. For example, Lower Northedge includes the districts of Stoneyard, Longstairs, and Northmarket. It's generally true that the combination of a district's ward and quarter will give you a broad idea of what to expect there. A district in Upper Central will typically be well kept and swarming with guards, while a district in Lower Dura will be squalid and dangerous. Getting around. Sharn is an enormous city, and traveling on foot from one side of the city to the other can be time-consuming. Here are some travel time guidelines. It takes at least 30 minutes to cross a ward. If you're traveling between wards, add 30 minutes for each ward you pass through. Dura and Tavick's Landing are especially large, double the time it takes to move through one of them. For instance, traveling from Lower Menthis to Upper Central involves passing through 3 wards, taking a bridge from Lower Menthis to Lower Central, then ascending 2 levels, and can take 90 minutes or longer. Not all the quarters are linked to one another by bridges. The connections that do exist include these. Central Plateau has bridges that lead to Northedge and Menthis. Dura is connected to Tavick's Landing and Menthis. Tavick's Landing is connected to Dura, Menthis, and Northedge. Menthis is connected to Tavick's Landing, Dura, and Central. Northedge is connected to Central and Tavick's Landing. Traveling from district to district involves the use of bridges and ramps, along with magic lifts, vast floating discs that slowly ascend and descend along threads of mystical energy. Lifts are mainly used to move cargo and can be up to 30 feet in diameter. Most lifts have rails, but aren't fully enclosed. If combatants fight on a lift, someone falling or being pushed off the edge is always a possibility. For a speedier journey through the streets, House Orion manages a system of carriages for hire. Taking an Orion carriage cuts travel time in half and costs 2 CP per word traveled. Flight is, of course, the fastest way to get around in Sharn, cutting travel time down to 1/6 of the walking pace, 5 minutes per ward. It's also more expensive, at 2 SP per ward. The most common form of aerial transport is the skycoach, but many flying mounts, including hippogriffs, griffins, pteranodons, and giant owls, can be found for hire around the city. Central Plateau, important districts. Highest Towers, the seat of city government. This district is also where airships arrive and depart. It is in Upper Central. Cornath, named for the great temple of Calcoran that lies at its center. This district is dedicated to wealth and finance. Money changers, banks, and grand vaults are found here, in addition to the estates of powerful merchants. It is in Upper Central. Platinum Heights, catering to Sharn's elite. This district provides a wide range of shops and services of wealthy to aristocratic quality. It is in Upper Central. Skysage Park, home to 3 sprawling rooftop parks. This district provides a touch of wilderness in the heart of the city. A small community of immigrants from the Eldine Reaches maintains these groves and gardens. It is in Upper Central. Ambassador Towers. This district contains the embassies to the thronehold nations, along with Erinol and Redra. It's also the seat of the Citadel and home to the Brelish Museum of Fine Art. It is in Middle Central. Dragon Towers. This is the primary place to do business with representatives of the Dragonmarked houses. All the houses have outposts here, and Sidis, Tharashk, Jarasco, and Cannith have their primary enclaves in Dragon Towers. It is in Middle Central. Sovereign Towers, a district filled with a vast assortment of temples and shrines. It is home to the 2 most important temples in Sharn, the Pavilion of the Host and the Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame. It is in Middle Central. Sword Point. This garrison district houses the forces that police and defend Central Plateau, including the Sharn Watch and a detachment of the Royal Army. It is in Middle Central. Trade Fair, a merchant district offering legal goods and services of modest to comfortable quality. It is in Middle Central. Bouldry's Hearth, a haven for travelers, this district contains reliable inns ranging from modest to comfortable quality. It is in Lower Central. Oladra's Kitchen. Neither the best nor worst Sharn has to offer. Oladra's Kitchen is home to a wide number of taverns and restaurants of modest to comfortable quality. It is in Lower Central. Dura Quarter, important districts. Clifftop. This district caters to adventurers, with a wide array of businesses aimed at explorers and fortune hunters. It is the home base of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. Upper Dura. Daggerwatch. Daggerwatch holds garrisons for both the Sharn Watch and the Brelish Army, along with business and residences for those who support the garrisons. Upper Dura. Highhold, a district built by dwarves for dwarves. Highhold has strong Emror influences in its architecture. It's a good place to find Emror goods and is home to talented smiths and brewers. Upper Dura. Highwater, the finest residential district in Dura and the seat of House Vidalis. Highwater is largely comfortable in quality with a few wealthy estates. Upper Dura. Hope's Peak, a relatively new temple district, with shrines and churches that have relocated from Fallen in Lower Dura. Hope's Peak includes several monasteries and a sacred grove. Upper Dura. Overlook. Overlook is noteworthy for its Kallister community, which maintains a community center, a shrine devoted to the Path of Light, and a few restaurants serving Sarluman cuisine. Upper Dura. The Bazaar, the largest commercial district in Sharn, an excellent place to buy or sell used, and possibly stolen, goods. Middle Dura. Broken Arch. Once a proud residential district, Broken Arch has fallen into disrepair. Its housing is poor to modest in quality, though the shells of wealthy manors can still be seen. Middle Dura. Harroth's Folly. A jumble of architectural styles, Harroth's Folly is a place to gamble and enjoy modest food and drink. The Hollow Tower is a center for aerial sports, and Harroth's Folly is where the race of 8 winds begins and ends. Middle Dura. Rattlestone. Rattlestone is a tenement district. Its people have little but their pride, but there's a strong camaraderie between them. Middle Dura. Stormhold. A comfortable residential district. Stormhold is home to the few powerful families that have remained in Dura. It's in better condition than most of Middle Dura, and Denith mercenaries protect the streets. Middle Dura. Tumbledown. A poor residential district. Tumbledown has experienced recent incursions from Dosk. Middle Dura. Underlook, the center of Sharn's nightlife before Menthis Plateau was built. Underlook is a collection of poor taverns and inns. Middle Dura. Khalistan, home to an assortment of squalid and poor businesses. Khalistan is a nexus for criminal activity and known as a stronghold of the Boromir clan. Lower Dura. Fallen, Sharn's oldest temple district. Fallen was abandoned after a floating tower crashed into the district during the last war. Now it's a collection of wretched ruins. Lower Dura. Gate of Gold, a squalid slum, providing miserable housing for desperate people. Lower Dura. Mallion's Gate, a poor district originally inhabited by goblins. Mallion's Gate has become a haven for monstrous immigrants from Droam and Dargun, along with members of Dosk. Lower Dura. Old Keep, another poor slum, largely home to dock workers from Precarious. Lower Dura. Precarious. The skydocks of Precarious pass goods between the towers and the port on the Dagger River below. The district is filled with warehouses, along with a handful of poor taverns. A small community of Sarlemans lives here. Lower Dura. The Stores, a warehouse district with a large halfling population, with ties to the Boromir clan. Lower Dura. Menthis Plateau, important districts. Deniez, founded by gnome immigrants from Zalargo, Deniez is a haven for those interested in Zil culture. It's home to many sages and artisans, and a hotbed of schemes and intrigue. Upper Menthis, Ivy Towers. This residential district includes comfortable homes and modest apartments. Many of the students and faculty of Morgrave University live in Ivy Towers. Upper Menthis. Seventh Tower, a shopping district with restaurants and goods of comfortable to wealthy quality. Seventh Tower is especially noteworthy for Little Zendrick, a collection of galleries whose owners buy and sell goods from Zendrick. Upper Menthis. University. This district is dominated by Morgrave University. It's also a nexus for sophisticated entertainment, including the Art Temple, the Grand Stage, and the Great Hall of Orien. Upper Menthis. Cassin Bridge, a mercantile district with goods of modest to comfortable quality. Home to a significant number of immigrants from the Shadow Marches, Cassin Bridge is the place to visit for exotic marcher herbs and cuisine. Middle Menthis. Everbright. This district is a source of magical goods and services. Exotic components, matrates for hire, common or uncommon magic items, all of these and more can be found here. Middle Menthis. Little Plains, founded by Talenta halflings. This district includes a central campground for visiting halfling nomads. The permanent residents are mostly halflings as well. Talenton foods and crafts can be found here, along with displays of traditional skills and pastimes. Middle Menthis. Smoky Towers, safer than the lower wards and less expensive than Upper Menthis. Smoky Towers has plenty of entertainment options. The Classic Theater is its most popular venue, but Smoky Towers offers a wide variety of more exotic fare. Dinner theater, changeling burlesque, and other diversions can be found in Smoky Towers. The Vanek Hall has begun performing works from Dargun and Droam featuring monstrous performers. Smoky Towers has also become a haven for Siren refugees wealthy enough to avoid high walls. Middle Menthis. Warden Towers. This district is the primary garrison of the Sharn Watch in Menthis. It's home to a community of Lazar immigrants, and the Broken Anchor is a tavern catering to Lazar travelers. Middle Menthis. Downstairs. The Downstairs district is primarily known for food and drink. Though most of its taverns and inns are only modest in quality, the For Sale serves some of the finest seafood in Sharn. The recent success of the Diamond Theater has also drawn travelers to the district. Lower Menthis. Firelight. This district is a destination for those who seek illicit forms of entertainment. Many forms of illegal gambling and paid companionship can be found in Firelight. It's also the most common location of the Burning Ring. Lower Menthis. Torchfire. A district with a notorious reputation, celebrated for cheap entertainment and infamous for its dangerous alleys. Its theaters specialize in musical comedy and lowbrow entertainment, and there are lots of opportunities for hopeful amateurs to get on a stage in Torchfire. Lower Menthis. Northedge Quarter, important districts. Crystal Bridge, a peaceful residential district with many wealthy and aristocratic estates. Upper Northedge. Oak Towers, a residential district where housing ranges from comfortable to aristocratic. Construction in Oak Towers uses materials and styles drawn from Eberron, and the district is home to many of Sharn's established elf and half-elf families. Upper Northedge. She-Lias. This district is a bastion for the culture and traditions of the elves of Eberron. It includes a variety of businesses specializing in Eberron goods, as well as a temple of the Undying Court. Upper Northedge. High Hope, a center for worship for the people of Northedge. High Hope includes temples of the Silver Flame and the Sovereign Host, along with many smaller shrines. It lacks the grandeur of sovereign towers in Central Plateau, but has an atmosphere of solemn devotion. Middle Northedge. Holdfast. Holdfast is the heart of Sharn's native dwarf population. The ancestors of the Holdfast dwarves helped build Sharn, and many of its people are stonemasons, architects, and smiths. Holdfast dwarves are proud of their Sharn roots and have little interest in Emwar customs or traditions. Middle Northedge. Longstairs. The population of this peaceful residential district is mostly made up of dwarves, humans, and half-elves. Neighbors here generally stand together to deal with any trouble. Lower Northedge. North Market. The open market in this region largely deals in simple, locally produced goods. Due to the significant shifter population in Lower Northedge, North Market offers goods and services aimed at shifters, grooming services, claw care, and so forth, as well as those reflecting an Eldeen influence. Lower Northedge. Stoneyard. This residential district is home to the majority of Sharn's shifters, including both recent immigrants from the Eldeen Reaches and long-established local families. The district includes a makeshift Atragic court and a shrine devoted to the Wardens of the Wood. Conditions are poor to modest. Lower Northedge. Tavick's Landing, important districts. Copper Arch. This district is built around the Denith garrison that polices the Upper Ward. It contains shops and services catering to the wealthy elite. Upper Tavick's Landing. Ocean View. This residential district is home to some of the most influential citizens of Sharn. It has a mix of wealthy mansions and aristocratic estates. Upper Tavick's Landing. Silvergate. This shopping district is patronized by those with gold to spare. All manner of fine jewelry and expensive clothing can be found here, along with aristocratic food and lodging. Upper Tavick's Landing. Sunrise. This district provides housing for the shopkeepers and servants who keep Upper Tavick's Landing running. Housing is largely modest in quality, with a few comfortable towers. Upper Tavick's Landing. 12 Pillars. This is the civic heart of Upper Tavick's Landing. The 12 Pillars it's named for surround a courthouse, the Tower of Law, where visitors can get licenses to carry weapons in the ward. Upper Tavick's Landing. Cornerstone. A haven for travelers, Cornerstone has a range of comfortable inns and taverns. It's built around the vast Cornerstone Arena and is a center of activity for many major sporting events. Middle Tavick's Landing. Deathgate, named for the nearby City of the Dead. This district houses the Deathgate Guild and businesses that cater to adventurers. House Denith recruits mercenaries at its outpost here. Middle Tavick's Landing. Grey Wall. This district was founded long ago by Kanathi immigrants, and its people are proud of their heritage. It is a haven for any Kanathi travelers passing through Sharn. Rumors say there's a temple devoted to the blood of Vol in Greywall, but if that's the case, it's kept hidden. Middle Tavick's Landing. Tavick's Market. This district specializes in produce and other goods brought in by the farmers from the surrounding countryside. Middle Tavick's Landing. Black Arch. This district is filled with checkpoints and enchanted gates. These portals are generally open, but in times of trouble, Black Arch can become an impassable fortress. The Sharn Watch maintains the local garrison. House Orion and House Sidus both maintain outposts here, ensuring that messages can be swiftly delivered through the city and beyond. Lower Tavick's Landing. Cogs Gate. This warehouse district is the gateway to the cogs, and shipments of ore and other goods regularly pass through here. House Kundarak has high-security storage facilities for rent, and a House Denith outpost hires out Blademark mercenaries for venturing below. Lower Tavick's Landing. Dragon Eyes. Dragon Eyes tends to the needs of weary travelers, providing a wide range of lodging, food, and entertainment for tourists. It's also the home of most of Sharn's changeling population, and many changelings use their gifts to entertain and amuse travelers. Some say that it's the home of the Tyrant's Criminal Guild, but if so, that place is well hidden. Lower Tavick's Landing. High Walls. This district was converted into an internment center during the last war. Since the end of the war, it has been transformed into a refugee camp. Most of the residents are Sirens who fled the mourning, but High Walls also includes Brellish citizens who lost their homes in the war. It's a crowded and dangerous place, but it allows residents to maintain a squalid lifestyle at no cost. Currently, the gates are open, but the Sharn Watch could seal them at any time. Lower Tavick's Landing. Terminus. This district is based around Terminus Station, where the lightning rail enters and leaves Sharn. Most local businesses serve the station or travelers. Lower Tavick's Landing. Roan's Gate. Travelers who arrive on the main road enter Sharn through Roan's Gate, passing below a huge statue of the legendary Queen Rowan. Many of the Dragonmarked houses maintain shops here so travelers can send messages, hire bodyguards, or make use of other services. Lower Tavick's Landing. Above and below Sharn, important districts. Skyway. Skyway is a district that floats above Central Plateau and Menthis, built atop an island of solidified clouds. The richest people in Sharn live here, located above the city. Cliffside. Boats bring cargo and passengers to the dock at Cliffside on the edge of the Dagger River. From there, enormous lifts carry people up to Precarious. This dangerous district contains an assortment of taverns, shabby inns, and warehouses, located on the banks of the Dagger River. Ashblack. The first foundries of Sharn were built here. The district is devoted to industry, and the environment here is sweltering and claustrophobic. Located in the cogs. Blackbones. Blackbones is newer than Ashblack, and it shows. The district's corridors are wider and better lit. The foundries are well maintained, and the district has a few thriving businesses. Most of the warforged that reside in Sharn work in Blackbones, located in the cogs. Sample. The Sharn Inquisitive. Who owns Sharn? Portrait of the Urteans and the 60 families. If you've read more than 2 issues of the Sharn Inquisitive, you've seen at least 2 stories about the Urtean family. King Boreanal might rule Breland, and the Lord Mayor might be our highest appointed official, but the Urteans are the true royalty of our city. What citizen of Sharn doesn't have an opinion about the fate of Lord Dalian Urtean, lost at sea a decade ago? Many are sure that he's a prisoner of the Sahuagin, which would explain why Lady Celeria has been funding expeditions into the Sahuagin realms. Another camp maintains that Lord Dalian staged his death so he could embrace a swashbuckling life as a pirate king. If the truth ever comes out, you can be sure you'll read about it here. Matriarch Lady Celeria Urtean is the queen of high society in Sharn. Her activities and those of the Urtean children account for just as much newsprint as their father used to. Dalian's eldest son, Dalas Urtean, shocked society last week when he publicly denounced the Brellish monarchy. The dalliances of younger siblings Sira and Daryl sell more issues of the Inquisitive whenever such are reported, and the wedding of middle sister Carianna Urtean and Main Jehalion of Erinol will surely be the biggest social event of 998 YK. The Ertine fortune is tied to the City of Towers. Tain Gold funded the construction of many of the towers of Sharn, and the family owns vast sections of the city. You've likely heard of the 60 families of Sharn, considered the guiding lights of the city. Most assume that these luminaries are ancient and established, their status tied to a royal decree. In fact, when the Tains built their mansion on Skyway, they ordered the architects to design a banquet hall that would seat 60 families and their servants. The original 60 families were those that received standing invitations to the first Tain Gala. Though the list has remained generally stable through the years, just last year Celeria expelled the Ormoros family and gave their place to Sedin Boromir, a surprising advancement for a family that began as cliffside hooligans. Anyone who strives to rise in Sharn society must earn the favor of the 60. Similarly, those who seek to explore and adventure in the wake of the last war can surely find patrons among these elite. And from our desks, we will be watching to see which families will be next to rise and fall. Central Plateau. The power and wealth of Sharn are concentrated in Central Plateau. Whether you're looking to deal with powerful merchants, city councilors, dragon-marked barons, or the ambassadors of other nations, Central Plateau is the place where big deals are made. Central Plateau. Noteworthy locations. Aurora Gallery, the most prestigious auction house in Sharn. Aurora deals in magic items, exotic finds from Zendrick, and other wonders. Platinum Heights, Upper Central. City Archive. This enormous edifice holds the historical and legal records of Sharn and the surrounding regions. Highest Towers, Upper Central. Council Hall, the seat of city government and the site of city council meetings. The council meets weekly, and visitors can watch from the gallery. Highest Towers, Upper Central. Grey Dragon Inn. This inn provides aristocratic and wealthy lodging for those who can afford it. Platinum Towers, Upper Central. The Kornath. The Temple of Kal Korin is an ostentatious display of wealth and a popular tourist attraction, since many believe praying at the Kornath ensures success in business. Kornath, Upper Central. Kundarak, Bank of Sharn. This is the largest bank in Sharn and the center of House Kundarak urban operations in the city. Kornath, Upper Central. Lyrander Tower. All airship travel to and from Sharn passes through the docking spires of Lyrander Tower, the house's primary enclave in Sharn. Highest Towers, Upper Central. Sanid's, one of Sharn's most celebrated restaurants. Sanid serves Brelish cuisine of wealthy quality and has a legendary wine cellar. Platinum Towers, Upper Central. The Vaults. Located below the Kundarak Bank, the vaults are Kundarak's heavily guarded storage facility. Kornath, Upper Central. Wayfinder Foundation. The guild hall for this legendary association of explorers. Kornath, Upper Central. Brelish Museum of Fine Art. The museum displays work produced by Brelish artists and relics recovered from Zendrick. Ambassador Towers, Middle Central. Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame. The central temple of the Church of the Silver Flame serves both as a Templar garrison and the site of grand rituals and celebrations. Sovereign Towers, Middle Central. The Citadel. The headquarters of the King's Citadel, Brelin's elite military and intelligence service. The Citadel is also a high-security prison holding Sharn's most dangerous criminals. Ambassador Towers, Middle Central. The Panaceum. The largest House Jarasco enclave in Sharn provides high-priced healing services to all who can pay for them. Dragon Towers, Middle Central. Pavilion of the Host. The center for worship of the sovereign host is a grand open tower surrounded by 9 temples, each dedicated to one of the sovereigns. Sovereign Towers, Middle Central. Upper Central gold and power flow down from Upper Central. The district of Highest Towers is the seat of government, where City Hall and the municipal archives are located. The Kornath is the name of both the central financial district and the Grand Temple of Kal Korin that dominates it. This district also houses the Kundarak Bank of Sharn and the vaults, House Kundarak's ostensibly impenetrable storage facility. Some of Sharn's wealthiest citizens live in the Mithril Tower district, and Platinum Heights is the most expensive market district in Sharn. It has fewer shops than the Bazaar of Dura, but if you're looking for top-quality goods or services, there's no finer, or more expensive, source to be found. If you maintain no better than a poor lifestyle, many people in Upper Central will assume you're a servant or vagrant. This could cause you to have disadvantage on charisma checks involving residents. Middle Central. This part of the city is a center for intrigue. The district of Ambassador Towers contains embassies and consulates from the thronehold nations, as well as Erinal and Sarlona. Ambassador Towers is also home to the King's Citadel, the headquarters of Brellish intelligence. Across the ward, the district of Dragon Towers holds the primary enclaves of the Dragonmarked houses. The Sovereign Towers district has the grandest temples in Sharn. The Pavilion of the Host is a complex of 9 towers devoted to the sovereign host, and the Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame is the seat of the religion. Although these temples are the locations of grand ceremonies and celebrations, many of the most devout priests serve in the city's smaller shrines, Lower Central. This district is peaceful and largely residential. It's the safest and most pleasant of the lower wards. Goods and services are largely priced for those with a comfortable lifestyle, and the Sharn Watch is plentiful and well paid. The district of Boulderay's Hearth has many reasonably priced inns, most run by House Galanda, and Aladra's Kitchen has a wide assortment of taverns and restaurants. Mission Gardens is a residential district that caters to affluent artists, while Valia Towers has a large community of half-elves. Things to do in Central Plateau. Looking for work or amusement in this quarter? Some of the things you can do here include attend an auction. The Aurora Gallery in Platinum Heights is the finest auction house in Sharn and specializes in auctions of exotic magic items and relics from Zendrick. You never know what's going to be available or who will be bidding against you. Plan a heist. Perhaps your goals depend on recovering an item a villain has hidden in the vaults of Coronath. Can you penetrate the most secure facility in Sharn? Go to jail. The King's Citadel in Ambassador Towers is also Sharn's high-security prison. Worship. The primary temples of the Sovereign Host and the Silver Flame are located in Middle Central, along with a host of shrines to specific sovereigns and lesser faiths. Take part in a festival or drop in for some spiritual guidance. Engage in espionage. Whether you work for your nation or get entangled in the schemes of the Dragonmarked houses, Middle Central is home to a lot of powerful people who have a use for capable agents. Dura. Sharn began where Dura stands, but the city has left it behind in many ways. Many nowadays consider the oldest quarter of Sharn to be a blight on the City of Towers. The place is full of cracked and crumbling stonework, abandoned lift shafts, and ever-bright lanterns that have burned out and never been restored. Dura is riddled with poverty and crime. It's easily the most dangerous section of the city, but it also holds opportunities you can't find anywhere else. If you're looking for smuggled goods or a place to lie low, head to Dura. Dura Quarter. Noteworthy locations. The Citadel of the Sun, a temple devoted to Dal Ara, noteworthy for the 3 blessed griffins that reside there. Hope's Peak, Upper Dura. The Clifftop Adventurers Guild, an institution that provides adventurers with camaraderie and profitable work. Clifftop, Upper Dura. The Drunken Dragon, a tavern frequented by members of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. The food is modest, but it has the widest selection of exotic alcohol in Sharn. Clifftop, Upper Dura. The Esoteric Order of Orion, the guild hall of one of Sharn's most prestigious arcane orders. A reliable source for arcane spellcasting services. Clifftop, Upper Dura. The Gold and White. This tavern offers fare of comfortable quality at modest prices. It caters to members of the Sharn Watch and Brelish veterans, but others will receive a cold welcome. Daggerwatch, Upper Dura. Morrigan's, a posh tavern specializing in strong Emroar spirits. Food and drink are wealthy in quality and cost. Highhold, Upper Dura. The Mystic Market, a collection of shops specializing in different categories of magic items. Most merchandise is common or uncommon, but rare items are occasionally available. Clifftop, Upper Dura. Pegasus Spire, the seat of House Vidalis in Sharn, is one of the few enclaves where Pegasi are raised and trained. Native to Serenia, these celestial beasts can become stranded in Sharn. Vidalis' heirs care for them and match them with virtuous companions. Highwater, Upper Dura. Galanda Hall. This proud Galanda enclave continues to operate amid the fading squalor of Middle Dura and has become a tourist attraction. It offers a range of services, with food and lodging of poor to comfortable quality. Underlook, Middle Dura. The Hollow Tower, a vertically oriented arena used for aerial jousting and other unusual sporting events. Harrod's Folly, Middle Dura. The King of Fire, a comfortable tavern and gambling hall, known as one of the safest places to bet on the race of 8 wins and the events at the Hollow Tower. Harrod's Folly, Middle Dura. The Anvil, this fading Galanda, and struggles to maintain its poor to modest quality. It's known to be under the protection of the Boromir clan, which makes it one of the safest establishments in Lower Dura. Calistan, Lower Dura. The Broken Mirror, a curious tavern owned by a family of changelings. The Broken Mirror changes its appearance and theme every week. It's rumored to be connected to the Tyrants. Calistan, Lower Dura. The Silvermist Theater. A remnant of Calistan's glory days, this place is a shadow of the grand establishment it once was. The current owners are known for staging bizarre events at the Silvermist. Since the Sharn Watch stays out of Calistan, anything can happen here. Calistan, Lower Dura. Upper Dura. This ward is full of activity. Its people are prospering, but there's an edge of desperation about them. Many folk are on the lookout for opportunities to better themselves. Upper Dura has the general properties of a middle ward, with most goods and services priced for a modest or comfortable lifestyle. The merchants and artisans are accustomed to dealing with unusual individuals, and adventurers receive a warm welcome here. Clifftop is a home away from home for explorers and mercenaries. Daggerwatch is a fortress district, containing garrisons for the Sharn Watch and the Brelish army. The Gold and White is a Daggerwatch tavern that caters to Brelish soldiers. Those who hold a Brelish military rank will receive a warm welcome, while those who served other nations would be wise to take their business elsewhere. In the Dwarven district of Highhold, a center of activity is Morrigan's, which serves the strongest spirits in Sharn, but it's no mere tavern. Often patronized by Emroar merchants and Kundarak agents, it maintains the highest of standards, with prices to match. The Highwater district is home to the wealthiest inhabitants of Dura, and is the site of Pegasus Spire, the enclave of House Vidalis. The Temple district of Hope's Peak features the Citadel of Light, a grand temple of Dal Ra and a bastion for the virtuous. The Overlook district is home to Sharn's Kalister community and includes the only temple of the Path of Light in Breland. Middle Dura. Middle Dura caters to the working class. Its taverns are modestly priced, but there's gold among the dross. The Bazaar of Dura is the largest commercial district in Sharn. In addition to the dozens of permanent shops and smithies, the streets of the bazaar are an ever-changing tapestry of stalls and tents. It's said that you can find anything here if you're not too worried about where it came from and if you're prepared to contend with the cut purses that prey on the crowds. A small selection of merchants that regularly do business at the bazaar is given on the Bazaar Merchants table. Roll a d10 or choose a location of interest. Bazaar Merchants table. Roll a d10 for a merchant. 1. Second-hand strings. A must-stop shop for the bard on a budget, with a variety of gently used instruments. 2. Corin's quill, a reliable source for cartographers, calligraphers, and scribes of all stripes. 3. 7 Leagues, owned by the cobbler boots. This small stall has a remarkable selection of footwear. 4. Boren's blades. Boren is one of the few halfling smiths in Sharn. He specializes in knives and daggers. 5. Hardy Scales, a stall serving grilled lizard meat and other Talenton delicacies. 6. Roll and Conquer, one of Sharn's only game stores. It does most of its business in cards and dice. 7. The Old Apothecary, selling supplies for herbalists and alchemists. This claims to be Bazaar's oldest shop. 8. Illumination. This shop sells lamps, lanterns, candles, and torches. Some are magical. 9. The Magerite's Miscellany. This little shop deals in spell components. The clerks love to discuss magic. 10. Sundry's Shop. A gnome named Sundry runs a pawn shop filled with all manner of trinkets. Elsewhere in Middle Dura, the district of Harrods Folly is a bizarre blend of architectural styles. One of the primary attractions is the Hollow Tower, an enormous arena that features aerial jousting and racing. The King of Fire is a grand tavern that hosts a broad range of gambling and bookmaking activities, legal and otherwise. Many people make their homes in Middle Dura, even if their jobs take them elsewhere. Rattlestone and Tumbledown are mostly poor tenements. Stormhold contains crumbling manors still occupied by some of Sharn's oldest families, while many that have prospered have moved on to more prestigious districts. Lower Dura. The aptly named precarious district in Lower Dura leans out over the edge of the cliffs and the skydocks, a system using gigantic arcane cranes and levitation, carry material up from cliffside and the docks. Precarious is also filled with warehouses that hold these goods, because Precarious plays an important role in the economy of the city. It's the only district in Lower Dura where the Sharn Watch maintains a significant presence. The rest of Lower Dura, in stark contrast, has been left to rot. Ignored by the Watch, it is the domain of gangs and crime lords. The inhabitants of the ward are often protected from violence by their criminal connections, or by virtue of having nothing worth stealing, but adventurers ought to tread lightly here, especially those who display the trappings of a wealthy lifestyle. There was a time when Lower Dura was the heart of Sharn, and remnants of this glory remain. The Silver Mist Theatre in Calistan was built to entertain nobles. The ward boasted manors, temples, and a garrison for the Watch. But all of these edifices were abandoned long ago, and now most are home to nothing but squatters and vermin. The district of Calistan is a nexus of sorts, where all the major criminal powers of Sharn have a stake. Those groups are described in more detail later in this chapter. The district of Fallen is a haunted ruin. This temple district was abandoned after it was struck by a falling tower. It's covered in more detail later in this chapter. Malion's Gate is home to the goblins of Sharn, along with other monstrous immigrants from Droam and Dargun. The district can be an especially dangerous place for halflings or anyone tied to the Boromir clan. Old Keep and Gate of Gold are wretched tenement districts. A significant halfling community lives in the district known as the Stores, which is also a stronghold for the Boromir clan. Things to do in Dura. Dura is a quarter of extremes, from the nearly idyllic atmosphere of Upper Dura down to the danger of Lower Dura. Among its attractions and diversions are these. Gamble. Legal gambling is heavily taxed in the city and limited in its scope. Dura is the place to find a wide range of shadier and more profitable games. Go shopping. The Bazaar of Middle Dura is an excellent source for exotic goods, legal or otherwise. Clifftop, in Upper Dura, caters to adventurers and has a reasonable selection of magical goods. Bend the Law. Looking for a fence or need to hire an assassin. Lower Dura is the nexus for criminal activities in Sharn. Talk about the race. The inhabitants of Dura are devoted to the race of 8 winds and are always willing to discuss the latest news. Suffer a terrible accident. The Sharn Watch ignores much of Lower Dura. Stories circulate continuously about dragon-marked houses and mad wizards conducting dangerous experiments in Lower Dura without interference from the law. Menthis Plateau, the hub of Sharn's entertainment industry and home to Brelin's largest university. Menthis Plateau is one of the most diverse quarters in Sharn. Whether you're looking for classical theater, a fine bookstore, or an illegal fighting ring, Menthis has something to offer. Menthis Plateau, noteworthy locations, Art Temple. This theater is renowned for its avant-garde techniques and subjects. University, Upper Menthis. Davandi Fine Tailoring. In addition to being the city councilor representing Upper Menthis, the gnome Thuric Davandi is an accomplished tailor and maidrite who produces the finest glamour weave clothing available in Sharn. Denia's Upper Menthis. Desna Museum of Antiquities. Attached to Morgrave University, this building displays the relics recovered on the university's many expeditions. University, Upper Menthis. Golden Horn. This wealthy inn includes a library, a few large meeting rooms, and a small concert hall. Performing at the Horn is an excellent opportunity for aspiring bards. University, Upper Menthis. Grand Stage. This stage hosts grand performances of the beloved classics of Galifar, along with more modern works that follow classical traditions. University, Upper Menthis. Great Hall of Orien. Sharn's largest temple to the sovereign Orien. The Great Hall celebrates knowledge and learning. The clergy are sages and savants in a wide variety of fields. University, Upper Menthis. Kavish Theater. Established by and for gnomes, the Kavish has ample seating for small creatures, and its shows make extensive use of illusions. Denia's, Upper Menthis. Little Zendrick. This area of small shops deals in antiquities and relics recovered from Zendrick and the ruins below Sharn. Cloud Antiquities specializes in giant artifacts, while the Mekdal Gallery deals in ancient Elven and Drow goods. Windows on Yesterday looks for items with historical significance, and Echoes of the Past deals in magic items with practical uses. 7th Tower, Upper Menthis. Sharn Opera House. Performances at the Sharn Opera are one of the most highbrow forms of entertainment in the city. University, Upper Menthis. Stargazer Theater. This open-air theater focuses on popular entertainment with family appeal. University, Upper Menthis. Classic Theater. A small and inexpensive theater, the Classic performs only works written before the start of the last war. Smoky Towers, Middle Menthis. The Burning Ring. The ring offers blood sport and gladiatorial combat. These dangerous matches aren't sanctioned by law, and the Burning Ring constantly changes locations to avoid the Sharn Watch. It's always last seen somewhere in Lower Menthis. Lower Menthis. Diamond Theater. A cheap theater once known for bawdy humor. The Diamond has gained fame due to its playwright in residence, and has produced several plays about the impact of the last war. Downstairs, Lower Menthis. 10 Torches. The cheapest ticket in Sharn's theater scene, 10 Torches alternates between lowbrow comedy and bizarre shows that no respectable theater would stage. Torchfire, Lower Menthis. Upper Menthis. Elegant and civilized, Upper Menthis is home to 4 of the finest theaters in Breland. The cutting-edge Art Temple, the colorful Kavish Theater, the traditional Grand Stage, and the open-air Stargazer Theater, as well as the Cavera Concert Hall. The shops in Upper Menthis deal mainly in fine food, fashion, and exotic goods. For instance, in the 7th Tower District, Window on Yesterday, Echoes of the Past, the Mekdal Gallery, and Cloud Antiquities all buy and sell interesting antiques and trinkets from distant lands. The district of Denias is a gnome neighborhood that provides a glimpse into the culture of Zalargo. Davandi Fine Tailoring is the source of some of the finest glamour weave clothing in Corvair. and the district also hosts a number of businesses that specialize in alchemy, illusion, or divination. Visitors should be aware that intrigue is the primary pastime in Denias, and that hapless adventurers can easily find themselves pulled into intricate schemes or feuds. Upper Menthis also contains the University District, home to Brelin's finest institutions of learning. More information about this district can be found in Chapter 1. Middle Menthis. Middle Menthis boasts the most diverse population of any ward in Sharn. The Little Plains district is the destination for halfling immigrants from the Talenta Plains. Cassin Bridge has a significant population of orcs and half-orcs from the Shadow Marches. Immigrants from the Lazar Principalities have settled in the Warden Towers district, which is primarily a garrison for the Sharn Watch. The district of Smoky Towers had a significant Siren community even before the last war. Now, this area has become a haven for Sirens wealthy enough to escape the refugee camps of High Walls. One of the most prominent attractions in Smoky Towers is the Classic Theater. The place lives up to its name by staging only traditional works written before the start of the last war. Although the Grand Stage in the University District also performs more recent works echoing the classical style, the Classic has a stated policy of not even considering new works. The Everbright District might be of particular interest to adventurers. A wide assortment of magrites ply their trade here, and the shops have a good selection of magic items, of common and uncommon rarity. The people of Middle Menthis are law-abiding folk, visitors looking for spellcasters to help with illegal activities, or who want to sell stolen artifacts will likely have better luck in Lower Dura. Lower Menthis. Providing cheap entertainment for the masses, Lower Menthis is crowded. The Firelight District is filled with sketchy taverns and theaters, ranging from the innocent to the risque, as well as gambling halls, brothels, and spontaneous performances in the streets. Lower Menthis is also home to the Burning Ring, a fight club where spectators bet on amateur gladiators. Technically illegal, the Burning Ring moves around the ward. Competitors are armed but unarmored. Matches continue until a contestant yields, but fatalities do happen. What's on the bill? People come from across Breland to experience the Menthis art scene. All manner of entertainment can be found in this quarter, from bawdy Lower Menthis events to the traditional works of the Classic Theater in Middle Menthis. The Shows in Menthis table provides a sampling of the many performances staged in Menthis. Shows in Menthis table. Roll a d8 for an event. 1. Tira's Tears, a speculative drama about the founder of the Church of the Silver Flame. Grand Stage, Upper Menthis. 2. Facade, a comedy of errors about a family of changelings, involving a tangled web of mistaken identities. Art Temple, Upper Menthis. 3. 5 Lives, a bitter reflection on the tragedy of the last war, as seen through the eyes of 5 soldiers. Written by up-and-coming playwright Luca Serra. Diamond Theater, Lower Menthis. 4. Galifar Triumphant, a beloved history based on the legendary king and the conflict that established the kingdom of Galifar. Classic Theater, Middle Menthis. 5. The Late Count, a comic opera by the Bard Kessler revolving around a Cadnathi count who is resurrected as a zombie. Sharn Opera House, Upper Menthis. 6. The Carnival of Shadows, House Fireland's traveling circus, a mesmerizing blend of illusions, physical arts, and exotic beasts. The traveling troupe always visits Smoky Towers, Middle Menthis. 7. The Brelish Symphony Orchestra, a performance of some of the finest works of 7th century Brelish composers. Cavera Concert Hall, Upper Menthis. 8. Reflection, a one-person show performed by the changeling Addie, exploring the multitudes that exist within us all. 10 Torches, Lower Menthis. Things to do in Menthis Plateau. Any list of attractions that tries to summarize what Menthis Plateau has to offer, even without considering all the performance events, is doomed to be incomplete. Of the countless possibilities, some of the most popular reasons to come here are the following. Consult a sage. Morgrave University might not be the finest institute of learning in Corvair, but it's the best Sharn has to offer. Whether you want to conduct your own research in the library or find a specialist in goblin history, Morgrave likely has what you need. Go into show business. Menthis has a wide range of performance venues, from the grand stage to the many taverns of Lower Menthis. In addition to enjoying the entertainment, you could try to find work, either showcasing your artistic talents on stage or displaying another sort of prowess in the burning ring. Join an expedition. Scholars at Morgrave often sponsor expeditions to Zendrick and into the ruins below Sharn. Siren nobles in smoky towers sometimes hire brave souls to venture into the Mornland to reclaim lost treasures. See other cultures. Denias brings a touch of Zalargo to Sharn. You might find a clawfoot raptor running down the streets in Little Plains, or a gatekeeper druid casting bones on Cassin Bridge. Northedge. The Northedge residential area is the quietest quarter of Sharn. At first glance, there's little to attract adventurous sorts, unless someone is interested in purchasing top-quality real estate. At the same time, you never know when this charming and innocuous area could be the site of a nefarious cult or a devilish plot. Northedge Quarter. Noteworthy locations. Gates of Passage. Built from Arany densewood, this spire serves both as the embassy of Erenal and a temple of the Undying Court. Arany citizens who die in Sharn are interred in the temple crypts until their remains can be transported to Erenal. Shelias, Upper Northedge. Nightshade, an apothecary dealing in exotic herbs and salves. Nightshade is also a tavern specializing in lightly poisoned beverages. Shelias, Upper Northedge. The Oaks, a legendary restaurant that serves Arany and Brelish cuisine. The quality is unmatched, as are the aristocratic prices. Head chef Mazathadian has maintained the Oaks for over 300 years, but after her recent appointment as city councilor for Upper Northedge, she is often occupied with other matters. Shelias, Upper Northedge. The Silver Bow. This establishment deals in arms crafted in the Arany tradition. This merchandise includes magic items, but woodshaper Tanner Mandirian takes time to produce his wonders, and only a limited selection is available at any given time. Shelias, Upper Northedge. The Winding Route, a marketplace and gallery that showcases the work of elven artisans, including sculptures, textiles, and fine clothing. Shelias, Upper Northedge. Cold Flame Keep. A garrison temple of the Silver Flame. This place once housed 100 Templars dedicated to protecting Sharn from supernatural threats. It has largely been abandoned. Only a dozen devoted Templars and adepts remain in residence. High Hope, Middle Northedge. Daka's Watch. A dwarf named Daka has been sitting on a pillar in Northedge for over a century, offering advice and encouragement. Though she doesn't claim to be a priest, many believe that Daka is blessed and guided by Boldre. High Hope, Middle Northedge. The Bear's Rest, a modest inn maintained by a beast-eyed shifter named Lyra, who usually gives a discount to traveling shifters. The decor features various exotic hides. North Market, Lower Northedge. Fathin's Shrine. This marker in North Market commemorates a miracle that exposed a network of werats in Sharn, along with the priest of the Silver Flame who died while fighting them. Pilgrims devoted to the Silver Flame often visit the shrine. North Market, Lower Northedge. The Horse and Hearth. Though not as colorful as the Bear's Rest, this large inn is maintained by House Galanda and offers rooms of modest and comfortable quality. North Market, Lower Northedge. The Rat's Nest. A modest tavern catering to the shifters of Lower Northedge. The Rat's Nest is a haven for gossip and serves food and drink in the Eldine style. North Market, Lower Northedge. Upper Northedge. Upper Northedge is the perfect place for the noble who can afford a manor in the clouds, but wants to avoid the bustle of Upper Central. The districts of Crystal Bridge and Oak Towers are filled with spire-topped manors and grand estates. A host of rooftop parks and gardens provide lovely spaces to sit and reflect. Shilayas is arguably the most remarkable district of Upper Northedge. Its population is largely composed of elves, and it is a bastion of Eberron culture and traditions. The heart of Shilayas is the Gates of Passage, a grand structure that is both the Eberron embassy and a temple to the Undying Court. The priests of the Undying Court don't share this information with outsiders, but many residents believe that an actual member of the court, an ancient undead elf possessing vast knowledge and divine power, resides in the temple. Other points of interest in Shilayas include the Oaks, one of the finest restaurants in Sharn, which serves food of the highest quality and priced accordingly. The Veil of Flesh specializes in Eberron body art in the form of both traditional tattoos and temporary illusions woven directly into the skin. The business known as Nightshade might be the most unusual watering hole in Sharn, doubling as apothecary and tavern. The house specialty is beverages tainted with weak poisons, designed to take the imbibber to the very edge of death. Sample, the Sharn Inquisitive, Enigma of the Diamond Voice. I challenge anyone to leave a performance of the broken sword with dry eyes. I believe that even a warforged would be moved to tears by this unflinching look at the spiritual cost of war. It's brutal, painful, and true, which is why it was all the more shocking when it first opened at the Diamond Theater. The downstairs district of Lower Menthis is mainly known for its body entertainment and base comedy, not cutting-edge political commentary. Thus, we critics assumed that this dramatic work was a singular event, until a new play titled Fallen Angels exceeded our every expectation. Month after month in recent times, the Diamond has struck us to the quick with emotional works about the last war and the psychic wounds we're still struggling with. Who is the playwright of the Diamond Theater responsible for these stirring stories? Her name is Luca Serra, but beyond that, she's an enigma. There's no such person on the rolls of the Bardic Colleges of Breland, and House Firelin and House Thierny claim to know nothing about her. Sarah shuns the spotlight and refuses all interviews. While her works are being debated and celebrated in classrooms and taverns, the artist spends her days in the dingy back rooms of the Diamond Theater. This seclusion has led to a number of fanciful rumors. Some say Sarah fought in the last war and that she was in Metrol on the day of mourning. A wilder rumor maintains that she is an exile from the fairy court of Thelanes, an archfey bound to human form. While we wait for answers to this mystery, we encourage you to sample Sarah's latest work. 5 Lives is a gut-wrenching tragedy that forces us to look at our darkest hours and to consider the suffering of our enemies and the common threads that unite us all. If you're looking to forget your troubles, by all means, go see Facade or The Late Count. But if you want to take in a performance that might make you a better person, do whatever it takes to get tickets to 5 Lives. Middle Northedge. This ward caters to the middle class of Sharn, offering a wide range of comfortable housing. Dwarves make up most of the population, with the highest concentration in the district of Holdfast. In contrast to the residents of Highhold in Upper Dura, the dwarves of Holdfast have deep roots in Sharn and feel no strong connection to the Emror Holds or its traditions. High Hope is a temple district. Although the city's most impressive churches and shrines are located in Upper Central, it's commonly known that if you're looking for a truly devoted priest, you should go to High Hope. The most notable feature of the district is Daka's Watch. 12 feet high, this pillar is thought to have once held a statue or monument. Over a century ago, a gnome named Daka climbed atop the pedestal. She has remained there ever since and shouts advice to anyone who passes by. Although Daka doesn't claim to be a priest, the people of the community say that she's blessed by the god Boldre and speaks with the sovereign's voice. True or not, Daka's advice has proven to be remarkably sound, and she and her pillar have become a tourist attraction. Lower Northedge. Although it's poverty-stricken, Lower Northedge is a significant step up from the slums of Lower Dura. The people of Lower Northedge don't look for trouble, and they don't like it coming to their doorstep. North Market is one of the largest markets in Sharn, though in contrast to the Bazaar of Dura, it mostly offers simple, everyday goods. Lower Northedge has a significant shifter population. The Rat's Nest is a tavern that caters to shifters, and the Bear's Rest is an inn run by a family of shifters. Tooth and Nail is an apothecary specializing in the care of fangs and claws. Particularly in the districts of North Market and Stoneyard, shifter children play Trajak in the streets. This flamboyant sport involves making dramatic leaps and scaling walls. The Shrine of Fathan the Marda is an infamous spot in North Market. It is dedicated to a crusading priest of the Silver Flame, who uncovered a group of werats in the early days of Sharn. Fathan was torn apart by the werats he had exposed, and in his honor the Church of the Silver Flame raised the shrine on this site. It's said that any lycanthrope that enters the shrine will be forced into its true form. Pilgrims devoted to the Silver Flame come from across Corvair to pray at the shrine, but the local shifter population has no love for the pilgrims or the church. Things to do in Northedge. Northedge is the most peaceful quarter in Sharn. It does have a few taverns and temples, but if you're looking for excitement or a wide selection of goods and services, you'll want to go elsewhere. Even so, Northedge boasts some notable special attractions. Settle down. If you're looking for a place to live in Sharn, Lower Northedge residences are of reasonable quality and price and offer more security than Lower Dura. Dye in style. The elves of She-Lias are experts in funerary customs and embalming. In addition, the High Priest of the Gates of Passage is capable of raising the dead. Find a patron. Many eccentric nobles make their homes in Upper Northedge. A patron of the arts could take an interest in the career of a bard or an entertainer. A collector might keep capable adventurers on retainer with the understanding that they'll deliver any Dakoni artifacts they come across in their travels. You never know what benefits a patron will provide. At the very least, having a patron can provide you with an introduction to high society. Tavick's Landing. Everyone who comes to Sharn, whether by land or air, passes through Tavick's Landing. The quarter took on a martial aspect during the last war, and the tense atmosphere can still be felt today. On the positive side, Watch Commander Iana Erdelan has gone to great efforts to purge corruption in the local garrisons of the Sharn Watch. As a result, this is one of the few districts where the Watch is both helpful and competent. On the downside, visitors from any nation that fought against Breland during the war might be greeted with suspicion or hostility. Tavick's Landing. Noteworthy locations. Crystals of Denyen. This gallery deals in rare and expensive magic items. The selection is limited, and Denyen looks for items that are both beautiful and powerful. Silvergate, Upper Tavick's Landing. The Three Towers, a fortress enclave of House Denith. One tower is a garrison for the Blademark mercenary forces that police Upper Tavick's Landing. The second is dedicated to house business and training. The third is a private mansion for Denith heirs, Copper Arch, Upper Tavick's Landing. Transmutation, a beauty salon that employs both magical and mundane cosmetic techniques. Copper Arch, Upper Tavick's Landing. Wyred Spirits. Wyred deals in fine wines and exotic spirits. Wyred's has the finest selection in Sharn, but his prices are high. Copper Arch, Upper Tavick's Landing. The Bloody Mug, a comfortable tavern catering to Sharn's Canathi immigrants. Travelers from Canath always receive a warm welcome and a tankard of Nightwood ale in exchange for stories from the old country. Greywall, Middle Tavick's Landing. The Cornerstone, a massive arena that hosts a wide array of sporting events. These include jousts and races, both on foot and through the air. The Stone Trees is an offshoot of the Cornerstone that serves as the playing field for Trajak competitions. Cornerstone, Middle Tavick's Landing. The Deathgate Guild, a society where adventurers can hone their skills and seek profitable work. The Deathgate Guild has a sinister reputation, earned because its members will do anything in pursuit of success. Deathgate, Middle Tavick's Landing. The Guild of Starlight and Shadows. The guild hall of one of Sharn's most prestigious arcane orders. A reliable source for arcane spellcasting services. Deathgate, Middle Tavick's Landing. Maynard's Menagerie. This Vidali's storefront deals in exotic pets and animal companions, along with barding and other useful gear. Deathgate, Middle Tavick's Landing. Rentblades, a comfortable tavern catering to the adventurers of the Deathgate Guild. Redblade is rumored to have a side business selling poison and venoms. Deathgate, Middle Tavick's Landing. Sloggers. This modest restaurant serves traditional Kanathi cuisine. The ambience is a bit gloomy, but the prices are reasonable, and the food is very filling. Greywall, Middle Tavick's Landing. Tooth and Nail, a comfortable tavern devoted to the sport of Trajak. Most of the clientele are shifters, but anyone willing to talk Trajak will find friends here. Cornerstone, Middle Tavick's Landing. Chance, a legendary gambling hall. In addition to standard games, it's said that the host can cover a wide range of unusual wagers. Dragon Eyes, Lower Tavick's Landing. Terminus Station, an enclave of House Orion. This site contains the Lightning Rail Station. The administrators coordinate the many Orion caravans that come and go from Sharn. Many of the other Dragonmarked houses have small outposts in or around Terminus Station, allowing travelers to immediately access the services of House Civis, House Denith, and others. Terminus, Lower Tavick's Landing. Velvets. Staffed by changelings, this comfortable inn specializes in fulfilling fantasies. Both the staff and the rooms can be adapted to fit any scenario. Though some clients have romance in mind, others come to Velvets to relive triumphs, to prepare for debates or trials, or for help in developing a new identity. Dragon Eyes, Lower Tavick's Landing. Upper Tavick's Landing. This ward is effectively a self-contained city catering to the nobles that live there. It has fine housing, skilled services, a luxurious mercantile district, and even an entire district Sunrise, designed for the servants of the nobles. The services and lodging in Sunrise accommodate those with poor or modest lifestyles, as opposed to the higher-priced goods found elsewhere in the ward. For those willing to put up with its restrictive laws, Upper Tavick's Landing has many fine features. Wyrid Spirits is the best source for wine in Sharn. The shop crystals of Denian buys and sells rare magic items, though it only has a handful of such items at any given time. Transmutation is a renowned beauty salon providing both mundane and arcane services. House Denith maintains a fortified garrison and training facility in the Copper Arch district, the laws of Upper Tavick's Landing. During the war, fears of attacks by foreign agents resulted in the establishment of a number of laws here that affect visitors, including adventurers, to this day. The soldiers of House Denith have full authority to act as agents of the Sharn Watch in Upper Tavick's Landing, and staff of Denith's elite Blademark mercenaries maintain checkpoints at the district's edges. You need a license to carry a weapon in Upper Tavick's Landing. It costs only 5 GP, but you have to plead your case to a clerk. Any Blademark or member of the Watch can demand to see your license and might confiscate unauthorized weapons. You also need a license to cast spells in the ward. It costs 10 GP, and you must specify the spells you intend to cast. A fine can be levied for any unauthorized use of magic. To get licenses for weapons or spellcasting, you'll have to go to the courthouse in the 12 Pillars district. Another law requires inhabitants to dress in a manner that upholds the solemn dignity of this proud ward. Blademarks and officers of the Watch can choose how they interpret this. Typically, armor is considered inappropriate unless you're tied to House Denith or the Sharn Watch, or you've served with the Brellish military. Anyone in contempt of this law is escorted out. Any sort of unruly behavior, fighting, shouting in the streets, and the like, brings a fine of up to 5 GP and temporary expulsion from the ward. Middle Tavick's Landing. Unlike the upper ward, Middle Tavick's Landing welcomes travelers and tourists. The ward features a host of lively taverns and excellent inns. The cornerstone is a huge arena that hosts events ranging from circuses to aerial jousting. The Deathgate district caters to adventurers, much as the Clifftop district of Upper Dura does. Like Clifftop, the district has an adventurers guild, though the Deathgate Guild has a dark reputation, and its members often pick fights with Clifftop adventurers. See the Adventurers Guilds section for more information. House Jarasco has a large house of healing in the ward, and House Deneth maintains a recruiting station for would-be mercenaries. The Greystone district has deep roots in Canathi culture that predate the last war. Sloggers and the Bloody Mug are places where homesick cans can enjoy blood sausage and nightwood ale. The district is a haven for Canathi soldiers who want to avoid Brellish aggression, and a place where followers of the Blood of Vol can practice their faith. Tavick's Market is one of Sharn's major market districts. Located directly above the Terminus Lightning Rail Station, it's filled with stands selling produce and goods brought in by local farmers. Lower Tavick's Landing. 2 land routes to Sharn both end at Lower Tavick's Landing. The Orion Lightning Rail deposits passengers in the district of Terminus, while those who travel to Sharn on the old road arrive at Roan's Gate. Getting to the better parts of Sharn from here means passing through Black Arch, a heavily fortified garrison district designed to repel enemies and withstand a full siege. The ward offers a variety of services catering to travelers. The Dragonized district is a maze of taverns, inns, brothels, and gambling halls. Dragonized is also noteworthy for being the site of one of the few changeling communities in Breland. House Orion has a strong presence in Lower Tavick's Landing, and Orion heirs, laborers, and teamsters can be found in many of the districts. House Lyrander and House Deneth are also well represented, with their representatives arranging matters of trade, transport, and security. These days, Lower Tavick's Landing is best known for High Walls, a former residential district converted into a home for refugees from the last war. High Walls is filled past capacity, mostly by Sirens who were displaced by the morning. The gates are open at present, but High Walls is designed to serve as a fortress prison if the need arises, and the Sharn Watch keeps an eye out for any signs of unrest. Things to do in Tavick's Landing. As a metropolitan district filled with immigrants, merchants, and travelers from across Corvair and beyond it, Tavick's Landing offers a host of opportunities to enjoy food and entertainment from distant lands. Or you might find yourself here for one of a few specific reasons, such as, take a chance. The Dragonized district is filled with ways to lose your wages, both in established gambling halls and on street corners. If you're looking for something a little more exotic, see if you can find chance. This is the name both of a secret, roaming gambling den and of the changeling who runs it. In addition to offering all manner of mundane games and bets, Chance is said to be able to arrange and cover nearly any sort of wager or duel. Are you ready to gamble with a fiend? Would you wager a year of your life for a moment of good fortune when you need it the most? If any of the rumors are true, these are examples of what's possible at Chance. Find refuge. Though most of the refugees in High Walls come from Sire, the district is a haven for anyone displaced in the war, including Brellish. The place is overcrowded, however, and resources are stretched thin. Tensions are high, and feuds and power struggles among the refugees take place regularly. If you're from Sire, you might be able to find a cot in High Walls, especially if you already have friends or family living there. Bond over blood. The Greystone district in Middle Tavick's Landing is one of the few places in Breland where the blood of Vol religion is practiced openly. Residents are circumspect about their activities, and undead servants are largely kept off the streets. But if you're a follower of the faith, It's a place where you can participate in the sacrament of the blood or consult with a priest. It's also the best place to find a skilled necromancer or to hear rumors about the latest schemes of the Order of the Emerald Claw. Sample, Voice of Breland. Is your neighbor a Siren invader? In the wake of the morning, our king welcomed the survivors of that tragedy into our cities. In Sharn, High Walls alone holds more Siren refugees than Canath has allowed across its borders. If you read the Sharn Inquisitive or the Corenberg Chronicle, you've heard the endless litany of how difficult life is, tales of overcrowding, starvation, and disease. Although we at the Voice of Breland sympathize with all who suffer, we refuse to ignore the deadly threat in our midst. The majority of Sirens who survived the morning did so because they were beyond the borders of their nation. And why is that? Because they were soldiers. The Sharn Inquisitive talks about starving children and ailing peasants, but it doesn't mention the Siren Special Forces and elite war mages who now reside in High Walls. As Brelish, we all want to show compassion to the truly innocent, but let us never forget that these people were once our enemy and could be again. And let us also remember that the cause of the mourning remains a mystery. Was it divine punishment for Siren sins that have yet to be washed clean, or could it have been a premature activation of an arcane weapon? And if so, could Siren artificers already be working on an improved version in the heart of our greatest city? Remain alert, people of Breland. Don't let the current plight of these unfortunates blind you to the danger. Above and below. The 5 main quarters of Sharn make up the bulk of the city, but a few additional districts lie above and below the metropolis proper, including wondrous sights and dangerous places that most folk prefer to avoid. Above and below Sharn, noteworthy locations. The Azure Gateway. This luxurious hotel and restaurant recently replaced an old Galanda inn. The menu is a Galifar fusion, combining styles from across the 5 nations. Skyway. The Celestial Vista. This legendary restaurant is owned by Skyway City Councilor Lady Evix Ermarasha. The floor is studded with crystal windows, allowing diners to look down into the city below. The food isn't incredible, but tourist crowds keep the vista filled with customers. Skyway. The Cloud Dragon. This restaurant serves traditional Brelish cuisine, and it does so exceptionally well. It's rarely as crowded as the other venues in Skyway, but locals know its value. Skyway. The Dragon's Hoard. This resort, maintained by House Galanda, offers every luxury for those who can afford its high prices. Skyway. Tane Manor. Sharn's social life revolves around the Ertane family. The monthly Tane Gala is the hottest ticket in town, and it's held at the family estate in Skyway. Skyway. Mud Caves. This Shanatown sits on the edge of cliffside, where generations of destitute people have carved out homes in the cliff walls. It's a wretched existence, but most of the inhabitants have no other options. It also makes an excellent hiding place for fugitives. Cliffside, Sharn's Welcome. Also known as the Docks of Cliffside, this area is rough and dirty. Its taverns frequently host brawls, while the inns offer travelers a wide variety of ways to be cheated or robbed. Cliffside. Ship's Towers. Drifting alongside the cliffside docks is a collection of rafts, ships, and houseboats lashed together to form a floating community. Cliffside. Keldoran Forge. Though most of the foundries in the cogs are devoted to large-scale industry, the dwarf Antos Keldoran maintains a small forge and produces bespoke arms and armor. Ashblack. The Pool of Onatter's Tears. A small temple in the Blackbones district holds a pool said to be blessed by the god Onatter. Smiths come from across Corvair to dip their tools in the pool. Blackbones. The Red Hammer. The Red Hammer is Sharn's only inn maintained by and for Warforge. It offers those who work in the cogs opportunities to socialize, along with repair and cosmetic services. Blackbones. Skyway. A number of floating towers drift above the upper wards of Sharn, but these are dwarfed by Skyway, an entire district suspended above and between Central Plateau and Menthis Plateau. Built on an island of solidified cloud, Skyway holds the mansions of the wealthiest people in Corvair, nobles whose feet never touch the ground. It's a realm of wonders, filled with the finest examples of luxury and extravagance that gold can buy and magic can produce. For instance, Cloudbowl Park is formed from sculpted cloud stuff, with window panels of ice that provide a view of the city below. Skyway is home to lavish estates. Prior to the last war, noble families from across the 5 nations maintained mansions here. Though some of these places remain in the hands of their original owners, others were seized by the crown during the last war and sold to wealthy citizens of Breland. The resulting influx of residents has brought more diversity to the district, with dragon-marked heirs and even wealthy criminals living alongside the nobility. The grandest estate in Skyway is Tane Manor, home of the Tane family and the monthly Tane Gala. See holidays earlier in this chapter. This district offers the highest price services in the city. The Dragon's Hoard is a Galanda resort, where travelers can enjoy the utmost in luxury if they can afford the most expensive amenities. The Celestial Vista and the Cloud Dragon are wondrous restaurants. The Azure Gateway is a new hotel and restaurant that has replaced a Galanda establishment. The owner has remained anonymous, and this touch of mystery has piqued interest in the place. If you're interested in mingling with nobles or celebrities, or if you want to pull off a heist that targets the richest people in Sharn, Skyway is the place to do that. No bridges or lifts connect Skyway to the rest of the city, so the usual way to reach the floating district is by taking a skycoach or hiring a flying mount. Cliffside. Cliffside encompasses the docks and waterfront of Sharn, running along the edge of the Dagger River and up the cliff above it. Massive lifts levitate goods up to the skydocks in the district of Precarious. The area's rough and poor, filled with sailors and dockworkers. Many of these boisterous folk love the life in Cliffside. As a common saying goes, better a tankard of ale in Cliffside than a barrel of central wine. Plenty of legitimate services can be found here. Ships need supplies and repairs, goods need to be stored, captains need to hire crew, and sailors need a dry bed to sleep in once in a while. But other businesses meet different kinds of demands. These services include bordellos, taverns, gaming dens, and shadier entertainments for sailors to spend their off-duty hours and wages on. Even though the Sharn Watch has a token presence here, Cliffside remains one of the most crime-ridden districts in the city. This situation is exacerbated by the presence of Sahuagin, who sell their services as guides to help ships traveling to Zendrik. In fact, the Sahuagin rarely initiate violence, but there have been clashes between them and aggressive, drunken sailors. The Cogs. The Cogs lie deep beneath Sharn, below the sewers and Old Sharn, described later in this chapter. Streams of Fernian lava flow through this area, and over the centuries, House Cannith has helped Breland establish vast foundries that tap this mystic resource. Ashblack and Blackbones are industrial districts, largely inhabited by warforged laborers and miserable workers of other races. It is said that House Cannith maintains a forgehold in the Ashblack district, and that this is where Baron Merrick's D. Cannith conducts his experiments. The Sharn Watch maintains a presence in the Cogs, and overseers from House Cannith are stationed here to keep things in order. Beyond these industrial districts lies the deeper tunnels of Kyber's Gate, a tenement district. Blackbones has a number of remarkable locations. For example, the Pool of Onator's Tears is sacred to the sovereign of the Forge. The current caretaker is a Warforged priest named Smith, who believes that Onator has plans for the Warforged, and that the Warforged and creatures of flesh are meant to live together. Most of the citizens of Sharn have never been to the Cogs. The area does house the bulk of the city's Warforged population, and if you're looking for a particular Warforged, it's the best place to start. Industrial espionage and labor struggles can add drama to adventures in the great foundries, not to mention the possibility of artificers with secret forges hidden in the cogs. Dungeons of Sharn. Sharn boasts countless opportunities for adventurers. You can get caught up in espionage in Upper Central or drawn into a crime war in Lower Dura. Aside from the intrigues and politics of the city, Sharn has a wide range of cursed ruins, haunted slums, shunned catacombs, and other dangerous places. Wise folk avoid these areas, but those whose hunger for adventure outweighs their good sense might do the opposite. The City of the Dead. Look to the cliffs to the north of Sharn, and you'll see a collection of crypts embedded into the cliff face. This is the City of the Dead, the final resting place of the wealthiest citizens of Sharn. Common folk are cremated after death, but members of the 60 families and others with sufficient wealth have their remains interred in the tombs and tunnels of this necropolis. Few people reside in this area. Among its major features are Orion's Hold, a temple of the Restful Watch, where sovereign priests conduct funerals and serve as the caretakers of the tombs. Warden Tower is an outpost of the Church of the Silver Flame, staffed by a single hermit tasked to watch for supernatural threats. Though the City of the Dead is largely peaceful, stories circulate about dark powers lurking there. Some parents warn their children of the Lich priest Gath, who steals disobedient children and forces them to work in his kingdom of the dead, polishing the bones of his skeletal subjects. Old Sharn. Sharn was built on the foundations of an older city, which was itself built atop goblin ruins. This old city was destroyed by dark magic, courtesy of the elemental powers of the infamous Hollis Tarkanen and his consort, the Lady of the Plague. It is said that vile powers still linger in these ruins, and for this reason King Galifar I had all the passages to this undercity sealed, with gates of metal and magic. These portals remain sealed today, and it's illegal to tamper with them. But it's generally assumed that many treasures are hidden in the ruins of Old Sharn, along with untold secrets of the past. No one knows exactly what lurks in Old Sharn. The ruins could contain ghosts or other undead, the vengeful spirits of the aberrant-marked people who took refuge in the fallen city. In olden times, the Lady of the Plague had power over vermin and disease, and a fanciful tale says that even today the Undercity is inhabited by swarms of sentient rats and beetles. Fallen. The Fallen district in Lower Dura was once known as God's Gate. When the first towers were raised, God's Gate was the temple district. It had shrines and statues dedicated to the sovereigns, a proud church of the Silver Flame, even a monument to the undying court. But as Sharn grew and prospered, religious services were moved to grander temples in the upper wards. God's Gate became a tenement district, and the shrines and monuments were forgotten and left to decay. The final blow to this once proud district came early in the last war. A team of Ondarian saboteurs brought down one of Sharn's floating towers, and the falling spire struck God's Gate. Buildings collapsed and hundreds died. Untended corpses led to infection and disease. The city council had no interest in sinking gold into Lower Dura to restore the area, and the district was abandoned. Today, the district known as Fallen is strewn with the rubble of the fallen tower, mingled with shattered buildings and broken statues. Those who venture into Fallen must deal with the ravers, feral savages that lurk in the shadows. There's no question that the ravers exist, but their true nature remains a subject of debate. A common hypothesis is that they're the descendants of the original inhabitants of the district, who were possessed and driven mad by the ghosts of those who died when the tower fell. Others claim that House Vidalis has been trying to mage-breed super soldiers, and the ravers are the result of failed experiments. Only the most desperate people live here, and the forces of the law won't come near it. As a result, the district has a lot of space available for any cult or secret society that needs a lair. The followers of a radiant idol, the cult of the dragon below, or any other cabal could lay claim to a shattered church in Fallen. Sample, the Sharn Inquisitive, Dawn of disease. You'll hear warning bells toll tomorrow morning. You'll see packs of people with their faces hidden by plague masks or strips of cloth. Jarasco healers will roam the streets offering free examinations and blessings. If you're new to Sharn, have no fear. This isn't the outbreak of disease it appears to be. It's how Sharn observes the Lady's Day, commemorating a tragic incident in our past. Today, aberrant dragon marks are rare, but there was a time long ago when they were far more common. An army of aberrant heirs made their home here in the early days of Sharn, led by Hollis Tarkanen, known as the Earthshaker, and the Lady of the Plague, who had power over vermin and disease. When the dragon-marked houses laid siege to the city and their defeat became inevitable, the two unleashed their full might. Tarkanen's power reduced the early towers to rubble, and the Lady of the Plague called forth a horde of disease-infested vermin. For centuries afterward, the region was shunned. When our modern city was built, the cursed ruins were sealed away, but one never knows when the darkness could rise up again. On the Lady's Day, we remember the tragedy that once befell Sharn, and we prepare for the possibility that it could happen again. Khyber's Gate. Beyond the cogs lies Khyber's Gate, a maze of tunnels and tenements carved into the stone. The Sharn Watch has no presence here, and the closest thing to an authority is the criminal organization known as Dosk. If you're seeking the leaders of this group, this is where you'll find them. Many of the inhabitants of the gate are goblins and immigrants from Droam, but it's also home to fugitives, war criminals, and other unsavory types. Khyber's Gate is part of the ruins of a goblin city that was abandoned thousands of years ago. No one knows how deep it goes. The monstrous inhabitants of the district have no love for treasure hunters or adventurers, and it's a dangerous place to explore. Shamukar is the most successful tavern in Khyber's Gate. The place is a safe haven for all within it, regardless of species or politics. Once you make it through the door, you can breathe easy. The sewers. The upper wards of Sharn use a network of chutes to funnel garbage down into the sewers. Refuse and filth is channeled into cavernous midden chambers, where it is left to rot or be devoured by the vermin and oozies that inhabit the sewers. Smaller tunnels channel wastewater into purification centers, where matrites use magic to cleanse the water. A special unit of the Sharn Watch protects the purification chambers. Beyond these small, vital areas, the sewers are lawless. Though the sewers were never intended to support a population, over the centuries a subculture has evolved in this region. A few tribes of people, mostly goblins, along with a few shifters, dwarves, and feral halflings, live in the sewers, rummaging through the midden heaps and selling their goods in the lower city. These sewer clans constantly battle over territory, as control of one or more midden chamber can be critical to survival. The sewer clans can pose a threat to adventurers, but they can also be valuable allies. There are no better guides to the sewers and what lies beneath them than one of the folk who live there. Criminal activities. Under the laws of Sharn, crime takes many forms. Any sort of theft is illegal, including malicious theft of identity, the use of shape-shifting abilities, or illusion magic to impersonate someone with the intent to cause harm. Assault, murder, and fraud will all land you in hot water. Other activities walk the edge of legality. Gambling and prostitution are legal in Sharn, but these industries are heavily taxed and regulated. Likewise, smuggled goods include illegal merchandise such as drugs and mystical explosives, but also heavily taxed goods, such as the drug known as Dreamily, described in Chapter 4. Although crime occurs throughout Sharn, it is most apparent in Lower Dura and the Cogs. The Sharn Watch has a minimal presence in these wards, which are the easiest places to sell stolen goods or to hire an assassin. Of course, there are also good places to get robbed or caught up in a street brawl. Sharn is home to a large number of minor gangs and independent criminals. Even so, most criminal activities in the city come under the purview of one of 4 criminal organizations. the Boromir clan, Dosk, House Tarkanan, and the Tyrants. Even independents usually have an arrangement with one of these power groups. If your character has the criminal background, work with the DM to determine which of these organizations you're connected to. The DM has more information about these groups in Chapter 4. The Boromir clan began as a family of halfling immigrants from the Talenta Plains. Today, the Boromirs are one of Sharn's most influential families. There's a Boromir on the city council. Also, the Boromirs have close ties by marriage to the local branch of House Jarasco, and clan members can be seen at every Skyway Gala. The Boromir clan specializes in gambling, theft, and smuggling. In addition, it governs a wide network of lesser gangs and crime lords across the city. In the past, the clan's reputation was sufficiently strong to prevent any challenges. Over the last decade, however, the Boromirs have been fending off a serious challenge from Dosk. Those monsters have been aggressively targeting Boromir agents and holdings, and the feud between the two forces grows more heated all the time. Having a connection to the Boromir clan makes you part of the established power in Sharn. It's an organization that values tradition and prefers to avoid violence. As an associate of the clan, you'll be expected to respect the hierarchy and follow the rules, and you might be targeted by Dosk just as if you were a Boromir yourself. If you have a contact in the Boromir clan, you might know someone on the Boromir contacts table. Boromir contacts table. Roll a d6 to determine contact. 1. Sundry Gnome is a fence who runs a pawn shop in the Bazaar of Dura and has ties to many smugglers, sailors, and burglars. 2. Cannon Halfling is a pickpocket who works across Sharn and is at home throughout the lower districts. 3. The Rake Dwarf runs a handful of gambling dens and sets odds on the sporting events of Sharn. 4. Myri Oler Halfling is a burglar and socialite, familiar with many of the mansions of the upper districts. 5. Hasvaldrin, half-elf, is a smuggler and the captain of the elemental sloop Ice Storm. Has is also well connected on the docks and in the warehouse districts. 6. Kala Boromir Halfling is a lawyer by trade, but with specialties in blackmail and intimidation. Kala loves engaging in the art of negotiation and is always interested in acquiring secrets. Dosk. Founded by monstrous immigrants from Droam, the criminal organization known as Dosk has been building its power for a decade and has recently begun an aggressive campaign of expansion. Dosk engages mainly in violent crime, including armed robbery, assault, arson, and murder. As its reputation has grown, it has added extortion to this list. If you have a contact in Dosk, you might know someone on the Dosk contacts table. Dosk contacts table. Roll a d6 to determine contact. 1. Waiha Knoll, a talented tracker, loves a good hunt and finding people who don't want to be found. 2. Ralskarshal, Goblin, is a fence and information broker who is happy to be paid in gold or secrets. 3. Kar Bloodhorn, Manotor, is an enforcer who leads raiding parties in Khalistan. Cal is rough and loud, but well-liked in the organization. 4. Ash Kobold is a sorcerer with talent in fire magic, who specializes in arson and assault. 5. Cask Changeling, an artificer and alchemist, supplies Dosk with drugs and explosives and likes devising new concoctions and finding people to test them on. 6. Teller Human is one of the few humans with a position of influence in Dosk. A grifter, Teller serves as a spy in the upper levels of the city, where monsters aren't able to move around freely. House Tarkanan. House Tarkanan is an elite force of mercenary thieves and assassins. The criminal talents of the Tarkanans are enhanced by another trait they share. Every member of the house possesses an aberrant dragon mark. Thus, every Tarkanan has an unpredictable magical gift, and all of them are united by the fear and prejudice that most aberrant heirs elicit from other people. If you have a contact in House Tarkanen, you might know someone on the Tarkanen contacts table. 5. Cask, changeling, an artificer and alchemist, supplies Dosk with drugs and explosives and likes devising new concoctions and finding people to test them on. 6. Teller Human is one of the few humans with a position of influence in Dosk. A grifter, Teller serves as a spy in the upper levels of the city, where monsters aren't able to move around freely. House Tarkanen. House Tarkanen is an elite force of mercenary thieves and assassins. The criminal talents of the Tarkanens are enhanced by another trait they share. Every member of the house possesses an aberrant dragon mark. Thus, every Tarkanen has an unpredictable magical gift, and all of them are united by the fear and prejudice that most aberrant heirs elicit from other people. If you have a contact in House Tarkanen, you might know someone on the Tarkanen contacts table. Tarkanen contacts table. Roll a d6 to determine contact. 1. Rotting Bow, Human, is an assassin, an expert in unarmed combat, and a founding member of the house. 2. Filion, Halfling, is a healer with a deadly touch, who evaluates and trains potential recruits. 3. Nightshade, Gnome, is an assassin and alchemist specializing in exotic poisons, who's always interested in acquiring new toxins or unusual herbs. 4. Whisper, Elf, is a thief whose aberrant dragon mark absorbs sound. Whisper appreciates fine things and has a vast collection of unusual trinkets. 5. Z, Halfling, can influence vermin and see through rats' eyes, an ability often used to spy on people. 6. Malashal, Half-Elf, is an expert pickpocket and a master of disguise with a talent for illusion. The Tyrants? The Tyrants are forgers and grifters, specialists in deception and the acquisition of information. Most of the members are changelings who use their shapeshifting abilities to fool marks and acquire secrets. There are Magrites among the Tyrants who can permanently alter your appearance. So, the Tyrants can steal someone's identity, but they can also provide a fugitive with a new life. If you have a contact in the Tyrants, you might know someone on the Tyrants contacts table. Tyrants contacts table. Roll a d4 to determine contact. 1. Corin, Elf, maintains Corin's Quill, a shop in the Bazaar of Dura that sells supplies for artists and scribes. In addition to being a remarkable calligrapher, Corin is an expert forger. 2. Gray, Changeling, is a bartender at the Crooked Mirror in Calistan and is an information broker with access to a wide array of rumors. 3. Kalatas, Half-Elf, is a grifter with dozens of plots afoot at any given time. Though this identity is the face they wear with you, they maintain many different personas tied to their schemes. 4. Weave, Changeling, is a body artist who runs a salon in the Dragonized district. Forces of the law. In Precarious, a dwarf tries to smuggle a portable hole filled with treasures pillaged from Zendrick past the guards of the Sharn Watch. In Clifftop, a patrol of guards calls on 2 dueling barbarians to throw down their weapons. The fierce warriors just snarl and rush at each other once more. In the Court of Upper Central, a magistrate orders the Justiciar of Orien to blind the prisoner in preparation for his sentence of perpetual darkness. The law is a force to be reckoned with in Sharn. Even in places where the Watch is notoriously ineffective, those who would break the law still need to be wary of zealous guards resistant to bribes or threats. The Sharn Watch is responsible for enforcing the laws of the city. The sentinels of the Watch patrol the streets of Sharn, to all outward appearances vigilant for signs of unrest. In truth, the Sharn Watch is riddled with corruption, from the commanding officers down to the lowliest patrollers. Dedicated guards who truly want to protect the innocent do exist. But bribery nonetheless runs rampant, and the Watch has a way of failing to show up somewhere at the same time that Dosk or the Boromir clan is perpetrating some misdeed. The DM can find more information on the Watch in Chapter 4. The King's Citadel. The members of the King's Citadel are the direct agents of the Brelish crown. As such, the King's Citadel stands above the Sharn Watch. Its members have the authority to take control of any investigation and to command the service of any guard or sentinel. Typically, the Citadel leaves the daily chores of law enforcement, including the conflicts between the criminal organizations of the lower towers, in the hands of the Sharn Watch. The Citadel is concerned with forces that threaten the entire city, or even the kingdom. Foreign spies, mad necromancers, and ancient fiends, these are the foes of the King's Citadel, rather than pickpockets and burglars. Of course, many of these greater threats might be beyond the capabilities of the typical Citadel agents. Much as the Blackened Book does, the Citadel keeps a close eye on unusual and talented individuals, and a party of adventurers might be called upon to assist the Citadel in a dangerous mission. Unlike the Sharn Watch, the Citadel doesn't ask for help, it demands it. The Knights of the Citadel are the representatives of the King of Breland, and any Brelish citizen who refuses to help them is committing an act of treason. The Citadel isn't required to provide compensation for the services it demands, but an adventurer who wins the respect of the Citadel can certainly benefit from the relationship. The Citadel is made up of these 4 divisions. The King's Dark Lanterns gather intelligence and engage in covert operations. The King's Shields protect the royal family and its closest associates. The King's Swords are elite soldiers used in the most dangerous military operations. The King's Wands are wizards and sorcerers, serving the crown in all arcane matters. The headquarters of the Citadel is in the Ambassador Towers district of Middle Central in Andith Tower. That structure also serves as the city jail. The Red Cloak Battalion. The soldiers of the Red Cloak Battalion are among the deadliest warriors in Sharn. When a situation calls for extreme military force, both the Sharn Watch and the King's Citadel turn to the Red Cloak Battalion. This elite unit fought in the forefront of the last war, and the bards in Menthis today sing of the exploits of Condon the Hammer and Mara the Huntress. At the end of the war, the battalion was split up, and one unit was assigned to Sharn. Its headquarters is located in the Daggerwatch district of Upper Dura. Many of the members of the Red Cloak Battalion resent being relegated to mere law enforcement, and there is a strong rivalry between the Red Cloaks and the King's Swords of the Citadel, who generally have less military experience even though they enjoy far greater authority and prestige. As veterans and heroes of the last war, many of the Red Cloaks are unfriendly toward travelers from other nations. As far as the Red Cloaks are concerned, the Treaty of Thronehold is merely an intermission, and soon King Borinal will come to his senses and finish the job that Roan Erwinarn began. Crimes and punishments. Officers of the Watch can levy fines on the spot when they catch culprits, which is the typical way that minor crimes are dealt with. For a serious offense, the perpetrator is taken to a garrison and held until a trial can be arranged. A criminal who is considered to be a serious flight risk will be taken to the most secure facility in Sharn, the King's Citadel headquarters. Typically, a prisoner's case comes to the attention of a local magistrate within 1d4 days. The magistrate reviews the facts of the case and asks the victim to confirm or deny their role in the crime while under the influence of a zone of truth spell. The magistrate will then propose a punishment to the accused. If the offer is refused, the case goes to trial. Punishment for convicted criminals varies, but long-term imprisonment is quite rare. Prisoners who deem to be too dangerous to be allowed to roam free are more likely to be executed than imprisoned. Typically, a long prison sentence is used only for criminals who can't be allowed to go free, but whose deaths would have negative diplomatic repercussions. Fines are the typical form of punishment. The amount of a fine is generally based on the nature of the crime, but a magistrate has the right to increase a fine to ensure that it is an effective punishment. For example, a fine of 10 GP is crippling to a commoner, but can be inconsequential to an adventurer or a member of the Aurum, and in such cases it will be increased. Also, the court can confiscate possessions in lieu of receiving payments in gold. You might not care about having to pay a fine of 100 GP, but having your grandfather's magic sword confiscated instead might sting. If a criminal can't afford to pay a fine, the sentence might be changed to hard labor, or, in the case of adventurers, performing special services on behalf of the city or the crown. Other kinds of punishment include branding, generally in a visible location, warning others of your criminal actions, exile, or several magical measures, an ongoing curse, a period of induced blindness, and so on. A repeat offender might be declared an outlaw, which status is often indicated by a brand. An outlaw is stripped of the protection of the law, and anyone can take any action against them without fear of legal retribution.